Chapter 25:15. In reality, with Xiaowu around in the Void Dao Academy, Lu Yin and the others wouldn't have been bullied. It was just that Lu Yin and Luo Lao didn't know Xiaowu, and Xiaowu had been waiting for someone from a space-time continuum to pay him a visit. They hadn't been able to do so, which had led to Xiaowu targeting them. If Zuiyu had gone to the Void Dao Academy, things would have been different. Shihong had a lot of influence in the Reincarnation Dao Academy, and she kept introducing Zuiyu to everyone. Little you, this is our Reincarnation Dao Academy's eldest senior brother, Mu Qing. Not only has senior brother Mu Qing reached the Star Plucker realm, but he has also cultivated the Sovereign King's Qi to the point of perfection. He has the innate gift of woodification in the weapon refining pool, and is an existence that all of us look up to, Shihong introduced. Mu Qing waved his hand. Junior sister Hong, you're making fun of me. Who doesn't know that your swimming dragon flash is the best in the Reincarnation Dao Academy? Even someone from the Grand Dao Academy hasn't learned it and has come to ask for guidance. Shihong's expression changed when he mentioned the swimming dragon flash. Senior Mu Qing, you must be joking. How can my swimming dragon flash compare to your blade technique? It was easily broken. Mu Qing was shocked. The swimming dragon flash was broken? Someone from the Grand Dao Academy? Shihong didn't want to talk about it. Zuiyu replied, it's someone from ultra space-time, but that person was originally from a cultivation civilization. I don't know how he broke Sister Hong's swimming dragon flash. Mu Qing was interested. Interesting. How many moves did it take? Zuiyu looked at Shihong. Shihong smiled wryly. There's nothing to hide. There's no move. Mu Qing asked, what's no move? Shihong answered solemnly, I didn't even see how he broke it. It was very easy and he didn't use any moves. Mu Qing's expression changed. Did this person come to the Hexagon Dao Academy? Shihong looked at Zuiyu. Zuiyu nodded. Yes, he joined the Void Dao Academy. He's able to break the swimming dragon flash and comes from a cultivation civilization, but he didn't come to the Reincarnation Dao Academy or the Sovereign Dao Academy. Instead, he went to the Void Dao Academy. He's really confident, someone commented. That person's name is Xianxia. We participated in the examination and in the end, 1,700 people passed and came to the 6 direction training rites. Xianxia was the only one who didn't need to take the examination and directly joined. Looks like his background isn't small. Some people were unhappy. Shihong glanced at the space-time person who spoke with a warning in her eyes. The person was so scared that he hurriedly lowered his head. Zuiyu also frowned. It was normal for someone to be dissatisfied with Xianxia, but to say it in such an occasion would only make hyperspace a laughingstock. Shihong replied, Xianxia broke my swimming dragon's flash without a single move. With his ability, there's no need to test him. Wait, Xianxia? Someone exclaimed. There were also people discussing beside him, mentioning Xianxi's name. Zuiyu found it strange and looked at Shihong. Mu Qing had a serious look in his eyes. Junior sister Hong, how many of the people who came to the 6 direction dojo are named Xianxia? Shihong was puzzled. Of course there's only one person. Many people exclaimed in admiration. Shihong asked, Senior Mu Qing, what's wrong? Mu Qing smiled bitterly. Junior sister, you've been entertaining junior sister Xiaoyu and the others, so you probably don't know much about what's happening in the 6 direction training grounds. Yes, did something happen to Xianxia? Shihong asked. Zuiyu and company were curious as well. They had been familiarizing themselves with the Reincarnation Dao Academy with Shihong, so they had no idea what was happening in the outside world. I heard it. Someone stood up and said to Shihong, Senior sister Hong, let me explain. Everyone looked at him. He adjusted his expression. Xianxia is the undisputed #1 genius of the Void Dao Academy. He lasted for more than 2 hours during his first attempt at using Void God's power, which led to Senior Yin's arrival. Everyone fell silent. Shihong, Zuiyu and the rest were shocked as they had never expected Lu Yin to do something so shocking. Those who had already known about this were just as shocked when they heard the news again. Although the 6 direction training grounds had only recruited 2 groups of people, Lu Yin's innate talent in the Void God civilization was comparable to Su Ji's, let alone Xiao Qingfeng, who had created miracles in the Void Dao Academy. Xianxia directly surpassed Xiao Qingfeng. You should know what kind of person Xiao Qingfeng is. Shihong was stunned. and the scene of Lu Yin breaking the swimming dragon's flash appeared in her mind. It's not good to let go of the sword's hilt when competing in swords, as it's easy to be caught. This sentence had been a huge blow to her. It was true that letting go of the sword was easy to be caught, but if one mastered the swimming dragon's flash, who in the same generation could catch it? Wasn't he afraid of losing his hand? Even now, she still couldn't figure out how her sword had been caught. Who would have thought that this person would create another miracle as soon as he arrived at the Sixth Direction training grounds? Mutring sighed. Now that a dragon has arrived, the Sixth Direction training grounds are no longer peaceful. Those from the Grand Training Grounds have probably remembered him. There's going to be a show to watch. I wonder if he'll come to our Reincarnation Dao Academy, someone muttered. Someone else said, it's unlikely. With his innate talent, it's very likely that he'll be taken away by the Void God civilization. That's right. The Sixth Direction Training Grounds rules are like that. Who knows, when we hear of his name in the future we might not be on the same level anymore. The gathering ended with the shock caused by Xianxi's name. Zuiyu hadn't expected that the gap between them would widen so quickly. Another half a month passed, and on this day a large group of people in the Void Lands witnessed history. Lu Yin had been sitting on the stone for more than 6 hours. More than 6 hours represented the beginning of the Void God realm. Zhou Xian stood not too far away from Lu Yin and watched excitedly. It had only been a month. Although it had been around the same time as Suji, or perhaps even longer, this person was not from the Void God civilization. Instead, he was from another civilization, which meant that his innate talent was terrifying. When 6 hours passed, Lu Yin suddenly opened his eyes. He saw Faux God's power floating in the air, and every stone had a large amount of Faux God's power around it. He looked up at the sky. The floating objects were also surrounded by Void God realm energy, and there were many of them. The ship that Xiaofei had guided down had quite a bit of Void God realm energy, but the one with the most was the village, which took up almost half of the sky. How could a village where ordinary people lived have Void God realm energy? Lu Yin didn't understand. Haha. How is it, Xianxia? Can you see Void God realm energy? Zhou Xian laughed, his eyes full of admiration. Lu Yin stood up and bowed to Zhou Xian. I can see it. Then tell me which virtual god you've seen with the most virtual god power. Zhou Xian asked. Lu Yin pointed at the sky. The village. Zhou Xian nodded. That's right, the village. Xianxia, you've joined. Outside the void, many people gulped. He had joined in only a month? Did he have to be so fast? Xiao Qingfeng had joined in less than half a year ago, and this was already a speed that outsiders couldn't surpass. Luo Lauer was excited. Amazing, brother-in-law. Xia Wu, Xiaofei and the others exchanged glances, and they could see the helplessness in each other's eyes. This person had joined the Void God realm in just a month, so he was definitely on a different level from them. Joining the Void God realm meant that Lu Yin could officially study at the Hexagon training rites. He could choose to learn the full strength of the Hexagon training rites or just the Void God realm. Senior, may I know if this junior can join the Void God realm? Lu Yin asked. Zhou Xian smiled, as this was the first question Lu Yin had asked after joining the Void God realm. Zhou Xian could tell that Lu Yin's yearning for the Void God realm came from the bottom of his heart. Don't worry, I've already contacted Kujian. Once you leave the Hexagon training rites, you don't have to go to the hyperspace. Head directly to the Void God realm and we'll arrange everything for you. Zhou Xian's expression turned solemn. We'll also give you a chance to meet the Void Master. Lu Yin was ecstatic. The Void Master? Can this junior really meet the Void Master? Zhou Xian laughed. Sure. Lu Yin's breathing quickened as he was truly excited this time. The Sixth Direction Association consisted of 6 civilizations, and each civilization had an expert comparable to the progenitor realm. The most exaggerated ones were the main space's 3 supremes, 9 sages, and the legendary Great Heavenly Venerate. The Void God civilization also had a strength comparable to the progenitor realm, and the Void Master was no longer as simple as an ordinary progenitor. He was the founder of the Void God civilization, a legendary figure that was rarely seen. The Void God realm was one of the Hexagon training rites, and if they relied on the strength of their entire civilization to fight against one of the 7 sky gods, they would be similar to the 3 sovereigns' space, and their strength would also be limited. However, if anyone other than the Void Master could fight against one of the 7 sky gods, then that would be extraordinary. This meant that the Void Master's own strength might very well surpass the 7 sky gods, and in the 5th mainland he would be on the same level as the 3 realms' 6 Daoists. This level of strength already surpassed the limits of Lu Yin's knowledge, and it was like the reincarnation of the Grim Reaper. If he went to the 5th mainland he would be invincible, and Lu Yin longed to meet such a powerhouse. However, now was not the time, as the Void Master would definitely see through him. Lu Yin bowed deeply to Zhou Xian. If I can meet the Void Master, this junior will die without regrets. Cultivate well. Some seniors have already taken a liking to you, and they might even take you in as a disciple. Of course, there's also a chance that you'll be accepted as a disciple by the Void Master. When that time comes, don't forget about me. Lu Yin replied, how would I dare forget, senior? To this junior you are my life's mentor. Zhou Xian nodded in satisfaction, but there was also a tinge of regret. He really wanted to take this person in as a disciple, but Lu Yin's performance was too exaggerated. It was so exaggerated that Zhou Xian didn't have the qualifications to make the decision. Only a few seniors could accept Lu Yin as a disciple. What a pity. In the distance, Xia Wu and the rest watched Zhou Xian and Lu Yin chat. They were filled with jealousy, but they were also filled with helplessness. Where had this fellow come from? Zhou Xian turned around and scanned the crowd. Everyone leave. We'll come back tomorrow. Everyone felt helpless, as they couldn't even stay outside the void. This was too biased. Xianxia, now that you've entered the Void God realm and seen Void God's power, the next step is to absorb it. Only by ensuring that you have enough Void God's power will you be able to draw Void Gods to battle. Zhou Xian patiently began to teach Lu Yin. Chapter 25:16. Lu Yin naturally knew about this step from the Jade Stone. This was the second step after joining the Void Path Academy, and only those who had joined could attempt it. No one had taught this step in the Void Path Academy, and they could only absorb Faux God power through the Jade Stone. Xia Wu, Xiaofei and the others had done the same, but Lu Yin was different. He was personally taught by Zhou Xian, and his method of absorbing Faux God power was different from what was recorded in the Jade Stone. The method recorded in the Jade Stone isn't bad, but it's not the best. What I'm teaching you is approved by the higher-ups. This method of absorbing Faux God power is much better than what's recorded in the Jade Stone. You must not teach this to anyone else, Zhou Xian reminded him. Lu Yin hurriedly expressed his gratitude. Was this fair? Of course it was not. They had all joined the 6 directional training centers and studied the Faux God civilization. Xia Wu and the others had already joined the Void Path Academy, and Shihong had even gone from the Void Path Academy to the Reincarnation Academy. However, they would never be able to come into contact with this top-notch method of absorbing Faux God power. This was unfair to them, but this was the universe's fairness. Cultivators competed with the heavens and even more so with others. Cultivation was a cruel thing. As the first strand of Faux God power entered his body, Lu Yin officially began cultivating the Faux God civilization. Zhou Xian did not even ask what Lu Yin had cultivated before, as there was no need for him to do so. Aside from a limited number of civilizations, what other civilization could surpass the Faux God civilization? Faux God power could easily erase the power that Lu Yin had cultivated before. Faux God power was very domineering, and after entering his body, it actually tried to compete with the astral source for territory. Lu Yin's 3 gates were sealed, and there was an astral source cyclone beside the black and white fog in his heart. Everyone could sense this, and at this moment the Faux God power actually tried to push this astral source cyclone away. There was very little Faux God power, but it was abnormally domineering. To Lu Yin it was like an ignorant child trying to challenge a giant. The astral source cyclone's power was enough to easily erase it, but if it was erased, it would mean that Lu Yin had not cultivated Faux God power, which would not do. It was impossible to peacefully coexist with the astral source cyclone, so Lu Yin guided the Faux God power to his heart. When the Faux God's power approached the black and white fog, it instinctively tried to push it away, just as it had done with the astral origin vortex. However, the Faux God's power was directly dragged in by the black and white fog. After entering the fog, the first thing it approached was the red dot. When faced with the red dot, the Faux God's power directly shot toward the land formed by the Fates, and as if it had been frightened. On the continent formed by Fates and the time-withering tree that had taken root, there was now a gray color. The tyrannical Faux God's power was suppressed as soon as it came into contact with the Fates, and It was as if a river had appeared on the ground. Lu Yin opened his eyes and felt a little strange. How is it? The power you cultivated before has been erased, right? Su Xianyin had already expected this. Lu Yin was at a loss. Void God's force is so tyrannical. Ah, of course, Su Xianyin laughed. My virtual god civilization is one of the 6 factions. Humans have countless parallel universes, but there are very few who can fight against my virtual god civilization. I don't know which parallel universe you came from, and I don't need to know. Facing virtual god force, your cultivation will be erased. It's very normal, so you don't need to think too much about it. After cultivating for a while, your strength will naturally return. Besides, your physical strength won't decrease. In the Su Dao College, in the 6 direction Taoist shrines, nobody can hurt you. Lu Yin was helpless. I understand. Then I'll continue cultivating. There's no hurry. The second step is yours. Next up is the third step. Su Xianyin pointed at the sky and said, Do you see those things? We call anything that's enveloped by virtual god force a virtual god. There are both living and non-living objects. What you need to do is try to guide them for the first time. Normally speaking, one would only be able to do this step about a year after entering the Void Dao Academy. However, you are different from ordinary people and can immediately attempt it. You can enter the Void Dao Academy, cultivate and guide it within a month. Among the cultivators of the outer realm, you can be considered unprecedented. Lu Yin was curious. I don't think I'm that outstanding in the virtual god civilization. Su Xianyin replied, That's not the case. Looking at the history of the virtual god civilization, there have been very few who have surpassed you. In this generation, only Su Ji has surpassed you. However, he grew up in the virtual god spacetime and is far more familiar with virtual god force than you are. Aside from him, no one else in the virtual god spacetime can surpass you. Alright, release the virtual god force in your body and try to reach high into the sky to guide a target that you think you can guide. Normally, the target's virtual god force can be 3 to 5 times stronger than the virtual god force in your body. This is one of the reasons why the virtual god civilization is so powerful. We can use 3 to 5 times our own strength in battle. Lu Yin sighed in admiration. This is the cultivation civilization that I yearn for the most. He then guided the virtual god force out of his heart and into the sky as if he was fishing. He finally understood what that woman had done. She had approached him with virtual god force the moment she had seen him and tried to control him. Unfortunately, he had pushed her away. She must have been very angry. To the side, Su Xianyin looked at the virtual god force that had appeared in Lu Yin's body. It was very thin, so thin that it was almost invisible. This was the amount of virtual god force that Lu Yin had absorbed for the first time. It was too little, but every cultivator in the virtual god civilization had walked this path. Su Xianyin wanted to see how tough and controllable the virtual god force in Lu Yin's body was. These were the most important factors that determined a person's innate gift. Su Xiangyin's expression was solemn. This person's performance during the entrance ceremony had been too monstrous. If his control of virtual god force was not bad, then he would be accepted as a disciple by the seniors of the civilization. Lu Yin stared at the sky. Fishing, fishing, fishing. This was fishing. Virtual god force was the fishing line, and his control was the bait. The fish were all bait, and this was much simpler than fishing. As long as he controlled it well, he could easily catch a fish. Soon enough, Lu Yin caught. No, he guided his first virtual god. It was a leaf, and the virtual god force around it was exactly 5 times stronger than the virtual god force in his body. Lu Yin watched as the leaf fell. Su Xianyin was satisfied. Not bad at all. You managed to draw a virtual god 5 times stronger than your own virtual god power on your first try. Your control over virtual god power is pretty good. How about it? Can you try drawing a virtual god of even greater power? Yes. Lu Yin was certain. Su Xiangyin's eyes glowed. You really are a genius. Let's continue. Lu Yin nodded and extended his virtual god force into the sky once more. This time he guided a virtual god that was 7 times stronger than his own, earning Su Xiangyin's praise. Senior, I feel like I can guide a stronger one, Lu Yin shouted. Su Xianyin was astonished. You can guide a stronger one? Give it a try. Lu Yin then guided a virtual god that was 10 times stronger than his own virtual god force. Su Xianyin was stunned by this scene. 10 times? Lu Yin really was a genius. Su Xianyin stared at Lu Yin. Among the geniuses of the virtual god civilization, only a few were able to guide a virtual god that was 10 times stronger than their own virtual god force. Zhou Xian was sure that Lu Yin would definitely be accepted as a disciple by one of the strongest powerhouses in the civilization. Xianxia was right about you. You really are suited to cultivate in the virtual god civilization, Zhou Xian sighed. Lu Yin's eyes flashed. Senior, I can try even stronger ones. Zhou Xian's eyes widened. Even stronger ones? Are you sure? Lu Yin was eager to try. I'll try. Right, go ahead. Zhou Xian was excited and looked on expectantly. More than 10 times was a whole new level. If he could reach it, if he could. Zhou Xian swallowed his saliva. At this moment even he was nervous. Only he knew what it meant to be able to guide more than 10 times the virtual god force on his first attempt. Lu Yin had not used his full strength yet. He had cultivated too many powers, including some that were similar to virtual god force, so he could control them easily. Not only that, but virtual god force was difficult for newbies to control because it was too domineering. He had faced resistance when he tried to guide the virtual god force to his heart, so it was easy to imagine how successful it would be for a first-time user. However, it was different for Lu Yin. The virtual god force was suppressed by his heart, and it was as obedient as a rabbit. He could control it however he wanted. As long as he circled it around his heart, it would definitely listen to him. This time he stared at a virtual god that was 20 times stronger than his own virtual god force. It was just a vase. Who would treat a vase as a virtual god? Whatever, it was time to fish. The vase moved and then it slowly descended under Zhou Xian's stunned gaze. Zhou Xian's eyes narrowed. 20 times? How was this possible? It was actually 20 times. His gaze towards Lu Yin completely changed. At the first step, this person had been comparable to Su Ji and had shocked the 6 directional training halls. At the third step, he had actually surpassed Su Ji. Su Ji's first attempt had only been to guide a virtual god that was 12 times stronger than his own virtual god force. But this person had actually managed to guide 20 times. This was too exaggerated. Zhou Xian looked at Lu Yin strangely. He really wanted to ask if Lu Yin was the Void Master's son. There was a crack and the virtual god force snapped. Lu Yin pursed his lips. Senior, I failed. Zhou Xian suppressed his shock and consoled him. You didn't fail. You can control it, but your virtual god force is too weak. It's not your fault. Zhou Xian was actually consoling him? He was the one who needed to be consoled. If Zhou Xian had been able to guide 20 times more virtual god force than his own virtual god force during his first attempt. No, even 10 times would have been enough. If he had been able to do that, he would not have reached his current level. He would have long since become one of the virtual god civilization's top powerhouses, and he would have been able to meet the Void Master at any time. But how great would it be to have even half of this person's talent? Senior. Lu Yin looked at Zhou Xian strangely. Senior, are you all right? Zhou Xian sighed and smiled bitterly. I'm fine. He then looked at Lu Yin and his tone changed slightly. This person would definitely stand at the peak of the virtual god civilization in the future. When that time came, Zhou Xian would still be the same as he was now, and he would have to salute Lu Yin the next time he met him. Xianxia, you're not bad. You were able to guide a virtual god that was 20 times stronger than your own virtual god force during your first attempt. Not bad. How do you compare to Su Ji? Lu Yin asked. Chapter 25:17. When he heard Lu Yin's question, Zhou Xian was speechless. He was far inferior to Lu Yin. Something like that. Don't tell anyone else to avoid being targeted. Lu Yin replied, Junior understands. Alright, you'll be absorbing Void God's power for the rest of your time. The more you absorb, the stronger the Void God you can control. After a while, when the time is right, I'll take you to find a suitable Void God for yourself. Lu Yin was curious. A Void God? There's no record of it in the Jade, and it's only known after entering the Grand Path. It's considered the 4th step. Currently, no one outside of the 6 paths has reached this step, not even Xiao Qingfeng from the Reincarnation Dao Academy. A normal person would need at least a few years of cultivation before they could try to determine a Void God's fate, but you... He paused. You can do it very quickly. Perhaps you can go with Xiao Qingfeng and the others. A Void God? I'm really looking forward to it. Lu Yin looked forward to it. Zhou Xian smiled. Looks like you're curious. Let me show you. He then raised his hand and Lu Yin watched as Void God's power appeared on his hand and continuously coiled around it. Following that, a bug the size of a fingernail appeared and slowly crawled around. Lu Yin's eyes narrowed. A death bug? This is a death bug. Don't underestimate it. Aside from the Void God's power, it's a powerful weapon. Can you see how much Void God's power it contains? Zhou Xian asked. Lu Yin did not let Zhou Xian know that he recognized the death bug. It's huge. In Lu Yin's eyes, the moment the death bug appeared, a boundless Void God's power spread out and repelled the surrounding rocks. The entire Void Dao Academy trembled slightly, and even the Void Gods above unconsciously swayed. This was the power of a half-ancestor. This death bug had not reached the half-ancestor level, but when combined with the Void God's power, it was comparable to one. Lu Yin had not expected Zhou Xian to have a death bug. Senior, is this bug that powerful? Zhou Xian was pleased with himself. Back then, when I chose my natal virtual god, everyone else went their own way to find something that they thought was powerful. I don't have a family background, a master, or a unique talent, so I had no one to help me. In the end, I could only choose this bug. When I came out, I was laughed at by everyone, and the first person to recognize the worm was Senior Su Wei, he said sincerely. It was Senior Su Wei who taught me how strong the creature called the death worm was. It was also Senior Su Wei who gave me pointers during my cultivation. That's why I'm here today. Although Senior Su Wei didn't take me as a disciple, I'll only recognize Senior Su Wei as my disciple. He looked at Lu Yin. Xianxia, I've already told Senior Su Wei about your situation. You have to grasp this opportunity well. If you can become his disciple, then it will be the greatest fortune of your life. Lu Yin answered seriously, I understand. To be able to make Zhou Xian acknowledge him as his elder and guide him, it was likely that the other party was in existence on par with progenitor realm cultivators. By the way, Senior, I saw the Battle of the Void God civilization at the peak where I joined the Hexagon training grounds. Was that astral martial stone disc also a virtual god? Lu Yin asked, as this was what he was most concerned about. Zhou Xian replied, that's right. The astral martial stone disc is a virtual god from the Void Realm. The Void Realm? There are many places in the Void God civilization where one can obtain a virtual god. The Void Realm was personally set up by the Void Master, and only recognized geniuses can enter to search for a virtual god. When I was searching for a virtual god, I wasn't in the Void Realm, but you should be in the Void Realm. Zhou Xian was filled with envy. Lu Yin was curious. The astral martial stone disc? That's a strange name. Zhou Xian replied, there's nothing strange about it. This stone disc originated from a powerhouse called Wuxia, which is why it's called the astral martial stone disc. Lu Yin's gaze trembled. That's a strange name. Is he a powerhouse from the Void God civilization? Zhou Xian shook his head. That person isn't from the Void God civilization. Looking back, this senior might be from the same era as the Void Master. Of course, that's just what I've heard from others. No one knows the truth. Lu Yin grunted in acknowledgement. If you want to know, you can ask Senior Su Wei after you become his disciple. He'll definitely know. It's said that this Senior Wu Tian is related to the legendary primordial space. Who knows? It's been a long time since anyone has appeared in the primordial space, Zhou Xian muttered. Not long after Zhou Xian left, he wanted to return to the Void God spacetime to find Su Wei and talk about Lu Yin in person. Before he left, he gave Lu Yin a mission, which was to draw that village over. That existence had the most Void God's power in the Void Dao Academy, and he wanted Lu Yin to draw it over within half a year. Lu Yin estimated that it would take less than half a year. After that, Lu Yin focused on cultivating Void God's power. He continuously absorbed it, causing the Void God's power within his body to grow stronger. This was a long process, and cultivating Void God's power was not as easy as cultivating astral sources. However, because he could draw Void God's power, it was easier and safer to fight. Xia Wu and the rest did not come looking for him again. They wanted Lu Yin to go to another academy so that they could cause trouble for him, but Zhou Xian's attitude towards Lu Yin made them hesitate. Something happened to Lu Yin, they would all be in trouble. Soon a month had passed. On this day, Luo Lauer asked Lu Yin for help. Luo Zong. Lu Yin looked at him. He's looking for trouble with you? Luo Lauer bitterly replied, He's not looking for trouble, he's already done it. As long as I stay away from you, someone will immediately attack me. Brother-in-law, take a look at this. He lifted his clothes to reveal wounds all over his arms, and he even tried to take off his pants to show Lu Yin. Lu Yin kicked him away. Don't try that. Your injuries weren't caused by anyone else. You did it yourself. Luo Lauer crawled over. How can you not believe me, brother-in-law? It really was Luo Zhang's people. There's a guy in the Void Dao Academy called Luo Xian. He's Luo Jun's 15th son and he's Luo Zhang's follower. He's the one who's watching me. Lu Yin looked at him. I'll only say this once. Listen carefully. I don't like being used by others. Luo Lauer opened his mouth to say something, but when he saw Lu Yin's gaze gradually turn cold, he helplessly sat down on the ground. Brother-in-law is still the smart one. I can't hide anything from you. Lu Yin calmly replied, Luo Lauer, we haven't known each other for very long. Aside from our encounter in the drifting cloud space, we have nothing to do with each other. If you want me to help you, then you have to be able to pay off the benefits. Luo Lauer fell silent. Lu Yin continued, you're not weak and you're at least stronger than Zuiyu Mudo and the others. Even if you can't compare to Shi Hong, you're not that far off. However, you've always been pretending. I'm not interested in playing games with you. Luo Lauer sighed and patted his butt. I knew that I couldn't hide it from you. I didn't want to hide it from you guys. I just wanted to protect myself, that's all. Lu Yin slowly absorbed the Void God's power, not interested in wasting time with Luo Lauer. Luo Lauer suddenly asked, brother-in-law, you don't have that kind of relationship with Zijing, do you? Lu Yin's eyes flashed and he met Luo Lauer's gaze. What do you mean? Luo Lauer smiled. Rumors say that Zijing has become very obedient because of you, and that you're willing to risk your life for her. However, I think that's just a facade. Every time you mention Zijing, there's no emotion in your eyes. You can see my emotions. Yes. Luo Lauer was pleased. This is one of my few strengths. I can confirm that you two don't have that kind of relationship. Lu Yin's lips curled up. So what if we don't? Are you threatening me? Luo Lauer replied, of course not. I'm just showing my value to you. That's meaningless. Lu Yin continued to absorb the Void God's power. Luo Lauer moved closer. What if I teach you how to cultivate the monarch's aura? Lu Yin was astonished. The monarch's aura? Yes, the monarch's aura from the 3 monarchs' realms. Lu Yin replied, I'm not interested. Can the monarch's aura surpass Void God's power? It's a different kind of power. The monarch's aura is quite powerful when used with weapons. Otherwise, how do you think the 3 monarchs' realms became one of the 6 Directions Society? If they can join the 6 Directions Society, then they must be worth it. Lu Yin thought about it. That was true, and this Luo Lauer might be worth something to him in the future. I can study at the Sovereign Academy, Lu Yin said. Luo Lauer was disdainful. What can you learn here? How can it compare to my teachings? Brother-in-law, do you really think that this place will teach you the true monarch's aura? Lu Yin recalled the method of absorbing Void God's power that Zhou Xian had taught him. He looked at Luo Lauer for a while and said, your condition. Luo Lauer took a deep breath. I hope to meet Zijing when I return to the hyperspace and receive her protection. Lu Yin raised a brow. Do you really think that Zijing can protect you? Luo Lauer replied, although I don't know what cultivation technique Zijing has mastered, I do know about the hyperspace. Zijing betrayed the hyperspace and caused the disbandment of the energy research team. A certain cultivation technique was delayed for many years, which is a huge crime. In the hyperspace, even those who can use the black energy source can't be exempted from this crime, but Zijing did it. His eyes were filled with disbelief. I specifically checked the hyperspace's history, and according to the records, only 2 people were exempted from this crime. They were both researchers who made huge contributions to the cultivation technique. One of them developed the gift technique and is known as the father of the gift technique, Yu Qing. The Yu family is also one of the most influential families in the hyperspace. For Zijing to be exempted from this crime, her future will be extraordinary. Lu Yin sized up Luo Lauer. You're not ordinary either to be able to find out so much. Luo Lauer smiled bitterly. Brother-in-law, if I didn't have this ability, I would have died like the other brothers. Do you know how many of our brothers were directly or indirectly killed by Luozong? No less than 5. Doesn't your father do anything? He can't, and he probably doesn't want to either. Luo Zong is Mu Jun's son, and the reason why the Three Sovereign Space was able to become the Sixth Direction Association is because we can deal with the 7 sky gods. The most important thing to deal with them is the Three Sovereigns array, and it can't be done without anyone. Under this premise, as long as Mu Jun doesn't go overboard, my father won't say anything. Luo Zong is also his son, the son that he values the most. Chapter 25:18. There was nothing sadder than being abandoned by one's father. Lu Yin replied, perhaps being sent here as a hostage is Lord Luo's way of protecting you. Luo Lauer's body shook, but he didn't say anything else. A smile reappeared on his face. What do you think, brother-in-law? This condition isn't too much, right? As long as you can use Zijing's name to protect yourself in the hyperspace, I'll teach you the proper monarch's aura. Lu Yin nodded. All right, deal. Brother-in-law. Luo Lauer shouted, attracting the attention of many outside the void lands. Luo Xian was there as well, and his eyes twinkled. You've really climbed up the social ladder. It's a pity that your backer no longer belongs to the hyperspace, second bro. The monarch's aura was a cultivation method similar to star energy, and the process was similar. Star energy cultivation required a cultivation method to absorb free star energy, but it could also be done through star crystals. The monarch's aura also had something similar to star crystals, and it was a weapon that had been strengthened by the monarch's aura. Lu Yin held the tricolored weapon in his hand. It's strengthened by 1 level, and the edge also has a trace of sharpness. This is the effect of the monarch's aura. It's actually similar to many cultivation civilizations, but it has an additional effect of increasing the weapon's performance. My father's 3 lords array can deal with the 7 sky gods, which is why it's listed in the 6 Directions Association, Luo Lauer explained. Cultivating the monarch's aura was very simple, and the basic requirement was to cultivate it to the level of a melder or limiter. This level had a unified name in the Three Sovereigns space, humble. If one couldn't even reach the humble level in the Three Sovereigns space, then they were just ordinary people. With the structure of the Three Sovereigns space, cultivators were considered servants of Lord Luo, and ordinary people didn't even qualify to be servants. This was also why not many people went to the Monarch's Dao Academy to study. It wasn't difficult to get started with the Monarch's aura, and many people could do so if they wanted to. However, they couldn't accept this division. How could someone from the main space learn the Monarch's aura and become someone's servant? Although it was just a title, many people couldn't accept it. Lu Yin found it strange. Your father's division of realms is quite tasteful. Luo Lauer helplessly replied, it's as if our space has never experienced the development of civilization. It's a standard slave society. Alright, I know how to train now. Give me those weapons and I'll absorb the monarch's chi from them to increase the monarch's chi in my body, right? Lu Yin asked. Luo Lauer nodded. The Monarch's Academy should have many weapons or other items imbued with monarch chi for them to cultivate. Lu Yin wasn't very interested in the monarch aura, as it was just a very ordinary cultivation civilization. If it weren't for the great array of the 3 lords, they wouldn't have been able to even touch the hexagon order. Compared to hyperspace, the hexagon order was still far inferior. Although hyperspace wasn't a cultivation civilization, they didn't need to cultivate. As long as they had enough energy, they could mass-produce a power source comparable to a progenitor. After chasing Luo Lauer away, Lu Yin decided to continue cultivating. He raised his hand and his die appeared. It was time to roll it. He wondered if rolling possession would be able to fuse into someone else's body like it had back in the 5th mainland. With that thought in mind, he tapped his finger and watched the die slowly spin. It was 3 pips. It was meaningless. He would not upgrade anything here. Continue. 2 pips. There was nothing to dissect. Continue. 4 pips. Time stop space. The scene in front of him changed and Lu Yin entered a grayish-white space. He had a year to cultivate here, and the first was the monarch aura. At the very least, he needed to learn the basics. In the future, he would definitely have to deal with the 3 monarch spaces, and learning them would be beneficial. He was different from other cultivators as he could learn any power. As long as that power entered his heart, it would obediently listen to him. Myriad Daoists returned to 1. This was his understanding of the power in his heart. When the scene in front of him changed again, Lu Yin left the time stop space. At this moment the land formed by the fates and in his heart had an additional color, which came from the monarch aura. This was the result of half a year in the time-stop space. He had already learned the basics, and not only that, but the monarch aura in his body had also reached the level of Beishur, surpassing Beishur. If he told Luo Lao about this, he would definitely be scared to death. From what Luo Lao knew, it had only been an instant since Lu Yin had started teaching the monarch aura. Even Lord Luo, who had founded the cultivation civilization of the monarch aura, could not have done it so quickly. After half a year in the time-stop space, Lu Yin had continued to cultivate the serious art and memorize the primogenitor's scripture. No matter what, he could not slack off on this. He stood up and stretched his arms. Although only a second had passed in the outside world, a year had passed in Lu Yin's eyes. He had not cultivated the void god's power for a year, so it was time to work hard. Lu Yin's eyes turned into rune lines, and the tiny candle person appeared on his shoulder. Formless rune lines spread out. He was very cautious to prevent any progenitors from noticing anything. As the rune lines spread out, they gradually enveloped Xia Wu, Xiao Fei, Luo Lao, and the others who were cultivating in the Void Dao Academy. None of them noticed anything. Lu Yin took a deep breath. Time to begin. Far away from the void, Xia Wu looked up at the sky. Only those who had entered the Void God civilization could see the Void God's power extending from his body. It continued to spread into the sky, approaching a giant circular Void God. Although the Void God's power that enveloped this Void God could not compare to the villages, it was still considerable. It could be ranked in the top 10 of all the Void Gods in the sky. He had already tried many times. As long as he could pull this down and succeed, he would be able to go to the next academy and learn from other civilizations. One day he would be able to join the Great Path Academy and compete with those geniuses. He would not be willing to be a servant forever. Success, he had to succeed. Xia Wu's expression turned solemn as he clenched his fists. His Void God's power had already merged into the circular Void God, and as it shook, it slowly descended. Xia Wu was delighted. He had succeeded. He stared fixedly at the sky. As long as he could pull it down, his results would be recorded in the Void Dao Academy, and he would be able to leave. He did not want to see that Xianxia again. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew past. Xia Wu did not pay it any attention, but in the next moment his Void God's power began to waver as if he could not control it. What was going on? He hurriedly tried to control his Void God's power, but as the gale grew stronger, it became increasingly difficult to control. Finally, the Void God's power snapped and he was furious. Who's causing trouble? Xia Wu was not the only one affected. At this moment, everyone who was cultivating in the Void Dao Academy was affected. Regardless of whether they were absorbing Void God's power or guiding the Void God's power, they were all interrupted. A powerful suction force came from one direction, pulling all the Void God's power in the Void Dao Academy towards that direction. Xia Wu looked in that direction. Was that the Void Lands? In his eyes, the Void Gods were everywhere. The Void God's power continued to flow towards the Void Lands, forming a vortex as if a giant was devouring it. Silhouettes passed by Xia Wu and headed toward the Void Lands. Xia Wu's eyes flashed. Was it that Xianxia again? He gritted his teeth and headed towards the Void Lands as well. Not long after, many people gathered outside the Void Lands. They were all stunned as they watched Lu Yin absorb the Void God's power at an extremely fast speed. How could anyone cultivate like that? Luo Lao blinked. He had just left the Void Lands, but he had returned in the blink of an eye. Brother-in-law, what are you doing? Lu Yin had not expected that using rune lines to absorb Void God's power would be so effective. He had already retracted his rune lines by the time he had discovered it, but the Void God's power still felt like it had been sucked into a vortex and was crazily sucked towards him. He was at the center of the vortex. He was also at a loss. Was something wrong? Whatever, he had to continue cultivating. In the history of cultivation, there were often things that ordinary people could not explain. Now it was up to Zhou Xian to help him explain. The Void God Tide. Zhou Xian had received a report, and when he arrived at the Void Lands and saw this scene, he immediately uttered these words. Lu Yin was speechless. This guy was really good at explaining things. Zhou Xian was excited. It's actually the legendary Void God Tide. It's said that only those who have the greatest affinity with Void God's power can do it. This isn't just absorbing Void God's power. It's actually being imbued with Void God's power. It wants to enter his body and resonate with him. His existence has given the Void God's power emotions, creating a superposition effect. No, we have to report this immediately. His talent in Void God's power surpasses anyone else's. He then left, but before he left he warned everyone not to disturb Lu Yin's cultivation. Anyone who disobeyed would be killed without mercy. Previously it had been a warning, but this time it was a blatant threat. In Zhou Xian's heart, Lu Yin's status had risen infinitely, to the point where he felt that Lu Yin might even be able to become the Void Master's disciple. The other important figures in the Six Direction training rites all looked towards the Void Dao Academy. The Void God civilization is really lucky. This kid's cultivation of Void God's power is so unique that it can go down in history. How long has he been here? Even that old guy Zhou Xian has been lured over so many times. In the future, the Void God civilization might have an unimaginable powerhouse on the battlefield between the humans and the Eternals. As long as this kid doesn't die prematurely, his future is promising. He's clearly from the hyperspace dimension. Don't talk about that. With his talent, he'll definitely join the Void God civilization. Otherwise, the Void Master will go to the hyperspace dimension to cause trouble for you. What a pity. If only this kid's talent in wood transformation was as high as his, and he wasn't from the Void God civilization. I also hope that his talent in cultivating the Sovereign King's aura is as high. What about you? Do you hope that someone from the Lost Clan has an extraordinary talent in cultivating the Lost Clan's power? It doesn't matter if I hope for it or not. The Lost Clan's power is unique, and it's already good enough to be able to enter the sect. No one can compare to the members of the Lost Clan. The others did not refute his words. The Lost Clan's power was indeed unique, and it was a test of one's temperament. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. 16 days passed. The Void Dao Academy's Void God's power frantically poured into Lu Yin's body for a total of 16 days. He watched the fates and in his heart, and the river of Void God's power on the continent grew much stronger. Finally it stopped on the 17th day. When he opened his eyes he saw that everyone outside the Void Dao Academy was staring at him in shock. Chapter 25:19. Lu Yin looked down at his hands, wondering if he was being too much of a bully. With his power level as a half-ancestor, his cultivation speed was so fast that others would not be able to cultivate. Fortunately, no one could tell how old he was, but he was not much older than them. He stood up and stretched his body. His bones creaked softly. Luo Lauer probed, "You're not cultivating anymore?" Lu Yin looked over. "Why aren't you cultivating? It's not good to slack off." Everyone was furious as it was clear that Lu Yin could not cultivate. However, no one dared to say anything to Lu Yin, as Zhou Xian's attitude was terrifying. They were afraid that Lu Yin would complain, and Zhou Xian would directly destroy them. It was not impossible as there was nothing they could do about it. The crowd dispersed and Luo Lauer hurried over to praise Lu Yin. Zhou Xian tossed Luo Lauer aside and sized Lu Yin up with an undisguised look of admiration and envy. "How do you feel, Xianxia?" Lu Yin smiled. "Excellent. With the Void God's power entering my body I feel much stronger." That's only natural. A 16-day Void God tide is equivalent to a few years or even a dozen years of cultivation for someone else. "How did you do it?" Zhou Xian asked. Lu Yin felt conflicted. "I don't know either. I just felt that the Void God's power was easy to absorb, so I wanted to absorb as much as I could. That's how it ended." Zhou Xian was envious. "I'm almost jealous of you. You're the one who triggered the Void God tide. There have only been a few Void God tides in the history of the Void God civilization, and they were all caused by people who had achieved supreme enlightenment. Every one of them achieved supreme power, and your situation is exactly the same as theirs." Lu Yin did not understand. "Senior, this is a good thing, right?" "Of course. I've already reported this matter to my superiors. Your future will definitely belong to the Void God spacetime." Lu Yin raised his head. "No one can stop me from joining the Void God spacetime." Zhou Xian was pleased. "Very good. Unfortunately, my abilities are limited and I cannot meet the Void Master. Otherwise, I would definitely recommend you to him and give you a chance to become his disciple." "What a pity." He then continued, "You should have quite a bit of Void God's power in your body. How about it? Which void god do you want to try attracting? Lu Yin looked up at the sky, his eyes shining with confidence. He raised a hand and pointed up, the biggest one. Zhou Xian smiled sinisterly. 2.5 months? You want to attempt the Void Dao Academy's biggest test in just 2.5 months? Are you confident? Yes. Alright, then let me see how you create this miracle. I can tell you that even the most talented disciple of the virtual god civilization Suji might not be able to attract such a huge virtual god within 2.5 months. I hope you won't disappoint me, Zhou Xian said. Lu Yin's expression turned solemn. This junior will begin. After speaking, faux god energy surged out of his body and into the sky. At this moment, Zhou Xian wasn't the only one watching. Many people were watching from outside the Void Land, and they were all from the Void Dao Academy. When they heard Zhou Xian's words, they all looked at Lu Yin in shock. 2.5 months after entering the sect, he wanted to lead an entire village? Was this for real? Xiaowu's eyelids twitched. He had been in the Void Dao Academy for 2 years, but he had only tried to lead the round virtual god from before. That virtual god was ranked in the top 10 of the academy, and there was a huge distance between them and the village. This Xianxia was really abnormal. I remember that the last person who tried was Xiao Qingfeng, right? Was he? Shu. Luozong seems to have tried as well. Basically, all the geniuses who joined the Great Path Academy have tried. The only one who succeeded was Xiao Qingfeng, but he stayed in the academy for almost a year. 1 year and 2.5 months. That's a bit of a difference. How could he succeed? I heard from Luozong that not only does the village have boundless virtual god energy, but it also has roads, houses, courtyards, and even living creatures. That's why he gave up. If he wants to succeed, he'll have to spend at least a year in the academy. It's not worth it. This Xianxia is just relying on his innate gift to lead an entire village. It's impossible. Everyone was discussing amongst themselves. Lu Yin was completely focused as he had already touched the village with his virtual god energy. As soon as he touched it, he felt that something was amiss. The village's virtual god energy was not as uniform as it had been in his previous attempts. Instead, it was scattered. The houses, courtyards, and even the small animals in the courtyards all had their own virtual god energy. If he wanted to lead an entire village down, he would need to expend more than just virtual god energy, he would also need to control it. This kind of control required a long period of tempering, and it could not be accomplished in a single day. Zhou Xian smiled as he realized that Lu Yin was still too young. Did he really think that the strongest virtual god in the Void Dao Academy would be so easy to lead? Then wouldn't the virtual god civilization be too simple? This kid's innate gift was too high, and he could cultivate virtual god energy without any hindrance. Zhou Xian's appearance had also made him a bit arrogant. This was a good thing, as Zhou Xian had taught him a lesson and suppressed his temperament. Otherwise, if he really thought that the virtual god civilization was that easy to cultivate, it would not be good for his future. How do you feel, Xianxia? Zhou Xian asked. Lu Yin's expression was solemn. It's very difficult. Virtual god energy is scattered, and it's difficult to lead the entire village. It's like using a needle to move a mountain. Even if the needle breaks, it won't move the mountain at all. It's already pretty good that you can see this. Then give up. If you can't do it this time, you should be able to do it after cultivating for half a year. With your innate gift, half a year at most, Zhou Xian said. Outside the Void Lands, the crowd was shocked. Half a year. This was what Zhou Xian was expecting from Lu Yin. Back then, Xiao Qingfeng had taken an entire year. The difference between the two was obvious. Lu Yin said, "This junior would like to continue trying. It should be possible." Zhou Xian raised his brows. "What did you say? Should be possible?" "Yes," Lu Yin replied, and then he stared at the sky. Zhou Xian laughed. This young man was unwilling to admit defeat. Interesting. Alright, then I'll wait and see. Lu Yin laughed inwardly. Was it difficult? Of course it was. Even if someone with such innate gift had cultivated in the virtual god civilization and wanted to lead an entire village, it would still be impossible. But for Lu Yin, it was a piece of cake. Of course, he still had to put on an act and not be too relaxed. Time ticked by and everyone stared at the sky. They did not understand why Lu Yin had not given up yet. Zhou Xian's eyes were filled with admiration. Although he had not been able to lead the village, this person had persisted for so long, which was quite rare. Although Lu Yin's control of virtual gods' power was crude, he had still displayed his extraordinary innate gift. Not bad at all. Zhou Xian really wanted to take Lu Yin as his disciple, but unfortunately he did not have the qualifications. Suddenly there was a cry of surprise. It's moving. Everyone stared at the village in the sky. Zhou Xian was flabbergasted and he looked up. He had not believed that Lu Yin would succeed from the very beginning, so all of his attention had been on Lu Yin himself. He had not paid much attention to the village's situation. Now the village had actually moved. As long as it moved, it meant that there was a chance of success. How could this be? Zhou Xian did not understand. This kid should not have been able to do it. Zhou Xian stared at the village and his expression changed to one of disbelief. He looked at Lu Yin again and saw that the youth's forehead was covered in sweat. The shock in his eyes became even more obvious. This kid had actually broken through all of the virtual gods in the village and then merged them into one. Was this something that a mere beginner could do? Lu Yin roared, "Get down here." The next moment the village moved and slowly descended. Everyone's jaws dropped. It had really moved. Outside of the void lands, no one noticed that Suyu had arrived as well. When she saw the village descend, she also gaped in shock. She stared at Lu Yin in astonishment. Had he done this? The village had been a test from the Void Dao Academy, and it had been easy for Suyu. However, how could a mere beginner accomplish this in such a short period of time? How long had it taken her to reach this step? There was a loud boom as the village crashed into the ground, causing the entire area to tremble. Zhou Xian stared at Lu Yin in a daze, once again shocked by his innate gift. Lu Yin let out a long breath and sat down on the ground, completely powerless. "Here. I was fortunate enough to not disappoint you." "I did it," Lu Yin said. Zhou Xian's eyes flickered and he forcefully suppressed his shock. He looked at Lu Yin. "How did you do it?" Lu Yin panted heavily. "I broke through the barrier between the virtual god's power and merged them into one." Zhou Xian didn't know what to say. It sounded simple, but it was difficult to do. Was breaking through the barrier something that a mere beginner could do? However, he immediately recalled the virtual god tide from before. This person's affinity with virtual god's power was extraordinary, and he had caused a virtual god tide as soon as he had entered the Void Dao Academy. This was a genius that was difficult to explain. Perhaps the virtual god civilization would be able to continue its current glory under Lu Yin's leadership in the future. Zhou Xian felt like he was witnessing the rise of a great era. "Congratulations, Xianxia, you've done it," Zhou Xian praised sincerely. Outside of the Void Lands, everyone looked at Lu Yin with admiration. Regardless of whether they viewed him as an enemy, at least at this moment, Lu Yin had done something that ordinary people would never have been able to do. He had suppressed the absolute geniuses like Shao Qingfeng and the others, as they had all witnessed a miracle. Lu Yin shook his head with a bitter smile. "It's too difficult, senior. The virtual god civilization is vast and profound. I need to work hard and cultivate even harder." Zhou Xian's eyes lit up. "Not bad, you're not arrogant. It's good. You were able to guide the village purely because of your innate gift. I hope that you can guide it down with your own abilities." Lu Yin stood up and earnestly replied, "Junior understands. I will not disappoint senior." Zhou Xian was satisfied with Lu Yin's attitude. He could see that this person was sincere, unlike some people who would get carried away with just a bit of innate gift. Zhou Xian didn't see this in Lu Yin's eyes, which made him feel more at ease. "Xianxia, you must remember that there is always someone better than you. Even in the Six Paths, there are people with innate gifts that surpass your imagination. Some people might look ordinary, but they can use various methods to obtain power that ordinary people would never be able to obtain in their lifetime. That's not innate gift but status," Zhou Xian said seriously. "Status can change everything, including innate gift. Innate gift is a ladder, and the higher your innate gift, the higher the ladder and the higher you can climb. However, status doesn't need a ladder as it already stands at the very top." Chapter 25-20. Zhou Xian felt that he hadn't said enough, so he continued, "You're from a hyperspace world, so you should know the advantages of a hyperspace energy source. As long as your body can keep up, even if you don't train much, you can still obtain a power level in the millions. This is status. You've heard of He Shu, right? As long as he wants to, he can obtain a black energy source. You still have a long way to go. Lu Yin bowed deeply to Zhou Xian. This time he was sincere. Although this person had treated him differently because of his talent, or perhaps he had other motives, his words could not be faked. Lu Yin had understood this principle when he had been thrown onto Drift Charge Planet like a piece of white meat. That was why he had constantly sought status, unifying the outer verse, the inner verse, the above heaven sect, and then obtaining the astral tree. All of this had been based on this realization. A young man with extraordinary talent might not have been moved by these words, but Lu Yin was deeply moved. "Thank you for your guidance, Senior," Lu Yin said. Zhou Xian nodded. "It's good that you understand. All right, continue cultivating. I'll remind you one more time that a powerful senior from the Void God universe will come to test you. It might be Senior Su Wei or someone else, but no matter who it is, remember to perform well. I look forward to your future." Zhou Xian left after giving Lu Yin a few more instructions. He couldn't stay by Lu Yin's side forever, so he warned the others before he left. Everyone was numb to this. Ever since Lu Yin had arrived, they had been constantly threatened, and Zhou Xian was the one who had threatened them. This made them feel rather indignant, but they couldn't do anything about it. Luo Lauer rushed over. "Brother-in-law, you're too ruthless. You even brought down an entire village. Is there anything you can't do?" Although Lu Yin didn't understand what Luo Lauer had said, he assumed that it was an exaggeration. "How much do you know about the other civilizations?" Luo Lauer didn't understand. "A little." "Brother-in-law, do you want to know?" Lu Yin replied, "I still need to know. Isn't there a large training ground?" "That's right, Luo Zong is at the Great Dao sect, and so is Xiaowu's master He Shu. That's a gathering place for geniuses, and there are all the famous princes and princesses of the Sixth Direction sect. Brother-in-law, if you go there you'll definitely dazzle them," second brother Luo flattered. "Brother-in-law, why don't I bring you to a place where you can learn more about the Sixth Direction Society?" "Where is this place? Can we leave the Void Dao Academy?" Lu Yin was curious. According to the Jade, one had to stay in a certain academy if they wanted to join it. Only those who had entered the academy could apply to join other academies. Luo Lauer said mysteriously, "Cliff Town." Lu Yin frowned. Cliff Town is the place where the 6 great Dao academies meet. It's located under a cliff in a starry sky. On the surface, the 6 great Dao academies have stated that the people of the academies are not allowed to leave, but those who join the 6 great Dao academies are all young people, so how can they possibly stay here peacefully? This is also the reason why Cliff Town is a place that can accommodate everyone in the 6 great Dao academies. In fact, the 6 great Dao academies have tacitly agreed to it. After all, the forces of the 6 great Dao academies are gathered here, and they have to communicate with each other. As long as one has the ability to enter Cliff Town, no one will care, Luo Lauer said. Lu Yin was interested. "Interesting. Let's go take a look." "All right." He then paused. Brother-in-law, do you have any money?" Lu Yin subconsciously touched his cosmic ring. Money. It wasn't a question of whether or not he had money, but whether or not he had enough. Ever since he had embarked on the path of cultivation, he had more than enough money. He had surpassed everyone else, including the 4 great Dao academies. The amount of money he had consumed was rather exaggerated, but that was in the form of star essence. The 6 great Dao academies' money definitely wasn't in the form of star essence. No. Luo Lauer was helpless. "Alright, then we can only watch. Cliff Town's biggest use is to dispose of stolen goods. There's no safer way to dispose of stolen goods than to sell them to a parallel universe. Regardless of whether it's an ordinary cultivator with extraordinary talent or a powerful second generation with a strong background, there are more or less things that they can't sell. In Cliff Town they can sell them to a parallel universe and very few people will be able to trace them. It's very safe." Lu Yin's eyes lit up. This was not a bad idea. "Does that mean that there will be many good things in Cliff Town?" "That's too many. The 6 great Dao academies aren't sealed off, so you can apply to leave. As long as you're willing, you can help some people sell things in Cliff Town. This is tacitly agreed upon and no one cares," Luo Lauer replied. Lu Yin became even more interested in Cliff Town after hearing this. There was no need to wait, and with Luo Lauer leading the way, they headed straight for Cliff Town. Cliff Town lived up to its name, and it was indeed built at the bottom of a cliff. Beyond the cliff was the starry sky. The Taiyi Void had the peak as its center, and it was scattered across the 6 continents that represented the 6 great Dao academies. Cliff Town was located at the center of the 6 great Dao academies, which was beneath the peak. From the peak one could directly reach Cliff Town. The peak represented the highest point of the 6 great Dao academies, which meant that Cliff Town was the lowest point. When they arrived at Cliff Town, Lu Yin looked up and saw a rock that covered the starry sky. Cliff Town seemed to have been carved out from the rock and the starry sky surrounded it. Who made this place? Lu Yin was curious. Luo Lauer lowered his voice. I don't know, but it shouldn't have been the first batch of people to join the 6 great Dao academies. They don't have the ability to do so. In fact, the outside world is saying that this place was made by the big shots of the 6 great Dao academies in order to allow the people here to interact with each other. It's also a way to dispose of stolen goods. You have to cover your face to enter Cliff Town, and the people you meet might not be here to learn. They might be big shots from the 6 great Dao academies or even the 6 great Dao academies. For example, Zhou Xian might appear here. Lu Yin looked ahead. Because it had been carved out from the rock, the entire Cliff Town seemed dim. There were lights everywhere and it looked rather quaint. Cliff Town was actually very large. After all, those who could come here were not ordinary people, and they could cross the starry sky with a single step. It would be inconvenient if the area was too small. Brother-in-law, look, there's a big tree in front of us. It's filled with fruits, and those fruits are like dough that can be kneaded into various shapes and used as masks. Only those who wear masks can enter Cliff Town. Otherwise they won't be able to enter, Luo Lauer explained as he walked towards the tree. Lu Yin was amazed. The universe was truly vast and filled with all sorts of strange things. Can't I just change my own appearance? Why do I have to use these fruits? Lu Yin looked at the fruit in his hand and pinched it. It was indeed very soft. Luo Lauer laughed strangely. This is to prevent people from using others to kill others. He then leaned closer and whispered, in a place like this, if you casually disguise yourself as an enemy and offend someone, wouldn't that person be in trouble? This has happened too many times. Although these fruits can also be molded into someone else's face, it's very easy to tell. Lu Yin blinked. He had done this before and Luo Lauer's thought process was quite meticulous. Luo Lauer molded the fruit into a handsome face. It was quite charming and even his hair was molded out. Once he put it on his head, normal people would definitely not be able to tell if he was wearing a disguise or not. Brother-in-law, am I handsome? Lu Yin replied, change the way you address me. You're the only one in the 6 great Dao academies who calls me that. Luo Lauer slapped his head. Right, how about this? I'll call you 7th Bro. Lu Yin nodded. Many people called him 7th Bro. As he thought about it, he molded the fruit into the shape of a fish. He had just thought of despicable fish. Luo Lauer was puzzled. 7th Bro, this mask of yours has quite a personality. Lu Yin raised his head. Let's go. The two then entered Cliff Town. The moment they passed the tree, an invisible ripple spread out, allowing them to enter without any obstructions. Lu Yin turned around. If he hadn't worn the fruit mask, the ripple would have prevented him from entering. Cliff Town was a rather large market with a dusky atmosphere. After they entered, they saw many people setting up stalls. None of them spoke and all of them wore masks as they cultivated by themselves. Lu Yin's gaze swept past the masks. He could see their faces, so how could these masks block his vision? As long as he willed it, he could sweep his domain and everyone in Cliff Town would appear in his mind. No one would be able to escape. They arrived in front of a stall that had all sorts of strange items on display. This is a specialty of Planet Pearl Rain called the 1,000 Water Drops. Throw it out and it'll envelop the entire area like a water droplet. It's quite powerful and according to Transcendence's standards, it has a power level of 300,000. Zwali, you're from the 3 Sovereigns space, right? The stall owner looked up. Are you trying to break Cliff Town's rules? Luo Lauer waved his hand. It's just a joke. He then straightened up. 1,000 water drops aren't commonly seen on Planet Pearl Rain, but this. Before he could finish, the stall owner took the item away and left without looking back. Luo Lauer pursed his lips. It really is him. Did you discover his identity? Lu Yin asked. Luo Lauer replied, more than 10 years ago the 3rd prince of Planet Pearl Rain died, and one of his valuables was a 1,000 water drop. It has a unique symbol and it's not an ordinary one. It's the same one you just saw. It seems that the unlucky third prince died at this guy's hands. This person should be part of the first batch here. Looks like his talent isn't bad. My father thought highly of him and threw him here. They then continued walking around Cliff Town. The next stall was quite far away. Those who set up stalls here didn't want to interact with others, and since that person had been recognized by Luo Lauer, he probably wouldn't return for a while. There's quite a lot of people here. They had already seen quite a few groups of people along the way and there were at least 100 of them. Luo Lauer replied, "They're all seniors leading newbies. Brother-in-law, no, 7th bro, you've been cultivating all this time so no one told you about this. Then how did you find out? Have you forgotten about this little brother's special ability?" Lu Yin recalled Luo Lauer's ability to gather information. He was indeed amazing and he had even found out that Zijing had brought a man back. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept past and a wooden stick was inserted into the wall. Luo Lauer picked up the stick and saw that it was pointing in the right direction. 7th bro, there's a secret auction. We're really lucky. These secret auctions are concentrated in a certain area, and only those in that area will be notified. Not everyone in Cliff Town will be notified. Whether or not you can participate depends on your luck. This is the ticket. Chapter 25-21. The two quickly followed the stick and arrived in front of a stone. Luo Lauer inserted the stick into the stone with practiced ease, and the stone slowly disappeared to reveal a long corridor. The two entered and the stone reappeared to seal off the corridor. Walking along the corridor, they soon arrived at a spacious and gloomy cave. There were only a few lamps in the cave. Up ahead, a girl walked over and gestured for them to enter. She led the two to a secluded mountain wall on 3 sides, which was equivalent to an auction room. There were only about 100 of these mountain walls. Lu Yin looked around and saw people continuously entering. These kinds of secret auctions are very secretive. No one will know who won the item, let alone where it came from. The items that appear in these kinds of secret auctions don't come from legitimate sources, but their value isn't low, Luo Lauer said softly. Lu Yin was confused. Aren't they worried that we won't be able to afford it? Secret auctions are only targeted at people within a certain range. There might be a lot, but there's no need to verify it. It's more about luck and it doesn't affect the reputation of the auction. It doesn't even matter if it's not sold because you don't even know who organized it. Just treat it as a gathering of strangers. Someone was also conversing in a mountain wall not far from Lu Yin. Sister Hong, how many times have you participated in these auctions? No less than 10 times. That many? You must have bought a lot of good stuff. How could there be that many good things? Before you came, there weren't many people in the entire 6 Direction training hall. It's only increased now. That's true. Stop talking, it's starting. Someone quickly walked out and bowed to all the mountain walls, speaking in a hoarse voice. Thank you for your support. There are 7 items in this auction, and the auction will now officially begin. The first item is a blue energy source. Lu Yin raised his brows. A blue energy source represented a power level within 1,000,000, which was equivalent to 6 origin tribulations. It would be considered an absolute expert in the 5th mainland, but there were only a few envoys in the entire 5th mainland. Could actually be auctioned here. This was hyperspace where power levels were digitized and scaled. Lu Yin wondered just how many energy sources they had. The blue energy source was quite attractive to everyone present. After all, they would instantly become an expert if they used it. And this was the first item to be auctioned, which piqued their interest in the following items. Burn luck. 7th brother, the scale of this secret auction isn't small. The person who organized it is quite capable, Luo Lauer said. The blue energy source was quickly taken away. Each of the 6 guilds had their own resources, and the price depended on what kind of resources the auction house accepted. Generally speaking, the auction house would specify the resources of a certain civilization, which meant that the auction house belonged to that civilization. If the resources of all 6 civilizations could be accepted, it would be extraordinary. This meant that the auction house could exchange resources, and the power it represented would be quite huge. Not everyone could freely travel to and from the 6 Direction Association's civilization. This secret auction was to accept the resources of the 6 civilizations. Next item, battle skill, Chief Star descends. This battle skill is mainly based on, Luo Lauer praised. This battle technique is very powerful. 7th bro, are you interested? Lu Yin asked, "You have money?" "No." "Is your father Luo Jun?" "He abandoned me. I'm just a hostage." This battle technique was not bad. It came from the reincarnation spacetime, and it had been created by someone who had become an immortal. This was equivalent to the fifth mainland's half-ancestor. A battle technique created by a half-ancestor was naturally very valuable, but it was meaningless to Lu Yin. Next item, four-handed tree. It comes from the wood spacetime. Those who cultivate in the wood spacetime can obtain the innate gift of four hands through this tree. Lu Yin leaned forward and looked at the strange tree. Was it a four-armed tree? This was the strangeness of the wood spacetime. Anyone who cultivated in the wood spacetime could obtain the innate gift of the tree. It was not an exaggeration to say that everyone in the wood spacetime was an innate gift cultivator. Luo Lauer was disdainful. "For hands? Disgusting. Who wants four hands?" "For hands" means that the same palm technique can be used twice at the same time. "It's very tempting," Lu Yin said. "Seventh bro, do you want it?" "Not interested." They were not interested, but there were many who were, and it was bought in the blink of an eye. One item after another appeared and they were all bought. In the blink of an eye, 5 items had been sold. They came from various civilizations and represented the strangeness and uniqueness of each one. The 6th item is a little special. I don't know if anyone is interested. As he spoke, the void distorted and a figure fell down. It was a woman, and when she landed on the ground, many people exclaimed. Luo Lauer was shocked. Demi-human? Lu Yin frowned. Demi-human did not refer to a particular race but rather a group. This group could be called the losers. In the universe there were wars between civilizations, and in addition to their own spacetime, there were also wars between parallel spacetimes. For example, the drifting cloud space had lost to the hyperspace spacetime, and some of its people had been captured by the hyperspace spacetime as slaves. Slaves were demi-humans, and demi-humans were a more civilized term for slaves. Everyone looked at the woman below. She looked no different from an ordinary person, but she was twice the size of a normal person. She was like a small giant, and she was quite beautiful. Otherwise she would not have been auctioned. Right now everyone was not thinking about the woman, but rather who had brought her in. This was the Hexagon training grounds, and only those with permission could enter and learn from the Hexagon Society's civilization. Anyone who wanted to enter the training grounds without permission would be strictly checked, and no one would be allowed to enter without permission. Otherwise, how could they guard against the everlasting race? But under such circumstances, someone had actually brought a demi-human in and was openly bidding for her. This was inconceivable. It was already difficult enough to bring her in, let alone bring her here to be auctioned. Luo Lauer sucked in a breath of cold air. Ruthless, it's definitely ruthless. Someone has a supreme treasure that can store living people in their cosmic ring. Whether it was the Fifth Mainland or the Hexagon Society, spatial rings were called cosmic rings. In fact, ever since he had arrived in the hyperspace spacetime, Lu Yin had discovered that the Hexagon Society was similar to the Fifth Mainland in many ways, and many of these similarities had originated from the main space. The Fifth Mainland represented the primordial space, and there must be something between it and the main space. Even the cosmic tree could not join the Hexagon Society. Seventh bro, you don't seem surprised, Luo Lauer asked. Lu Yin replied, it's beyond my knowledge. What's there to be surprised about? He had Mount Supreme, which could store countless people, but there was only one such supreme treasure in the entire Fifth Mainland. He had never heard of anyone else being able to store a living person in a cosmic ring, so he was curious as to what kind of supreme treasure it was. Luo Lauer thought about it and agreed, it's beyond my knowledge. I've heard of people being able to store living people in cosmic rings, but even my father doesn't have such a treasure. I'm really curious as to which ruthless person can do it. Next, just as that person was about to bid for the woman, a voice rang out. I wonder who brought this demi-human here. Are you planning to sell a supreme treasure that can store living people? If you're willing, come find me, Jiang Xiaodao. The price will definitely satisfy you. Someone immediately spoke up. Jiang Xiaodao, don't break the rules. Jiang Xiaodao disdainfully replied, so what if I do? Who can do anything to me? He's too arrogant, someone else said. Lu Yin was curious. Who is this Jiang Xiaodao? Luo Lauer whispered. He's the son of Jiang Xing from the reincarnation realm. He's definitely a top figure, and there aren't many people in the Six Paths who can compare to him. He's completely unscrupulous and doesn't care about anyone. Lu Yin looked at the distant Zhang Xiaodao, who had stepped forward and even removed his mask. He looked like a child, baring his teeth as he spoke, but no one could do anything to him. I'll say it again. Sell that supreme treasure to me and I'll definitely be satisfied with the price. You can ask around in the reincarnation realm about my reputation. If I say you can touch my hands, I won't touch her legs. If I say you can kiss her face, I won't kiss her. Everyone was speechless. What was there to brag about? Shut up, Zhang Xiaodao. Don't embarrass yourself, a woman shouted from the other side. Zhang Xiaodao raised his brows. Moo? Are you looking for trouble with me? Stop embarrassing yourself, the woman said. Zhang Xiaodao sneered. Who do you think you are to order me around? He suddenly thought of something and widened his eyes. You want to fight with me? I'm warning you, don't fight with me or I won't let you off. So what? Selling it to me is more trustworthy than selling it to you, the woman said. Zhang Xiaodao was furious. Bullshit, you don't even have a man chasing you. There must be something wrong with you. Your feet must be smelly. Shut up. The woman was furious. She stood up and removed her mask as well, revealing a delicate face that could topple countries. Luo Lauer was envious as he listened to the two arguing. If it wasn't for that bastard Luo Zong, I would have been able to argue with them. But now I'm crying. The two argued, but they didn't fight. Not long after, they stopped arguing under the persuasion of others. However, the demi-human girl had become a new point of contention. Zhang Xiaodao was arguing with the woman called Moo, and they were now facing each other. The auctioneer was definitely happy, but the others were shocked by their wealth. Moo, why are you fighting with me over a woman? There's definitely something wrong with you. Do you like women? She's too pitiful to be in your hands. I want to take her away. Bullshit, I'm just trying to get on the good side of the person who sold her to me. Are you sure they sold her to you? Who else would they sell her to if not me? Maybe some big shot brought her in. They might not even use a cosmic ring, Moo said. Many people had thought of this as well. Lu Yin had naturally thought about it as well. Half ancestors had their inner worlds, while progenitors had their ancestral worlds. It might not be impossible to bring someone in. That's impossible. They don't need a cosmic ring to bring someone in. Only those old fellows would openly auction off a demi-human. They're just looking to die. Not necessarily. The white energy from the hyperspace dimension can do that too. That's true. The hyperspace dimension occupies the drifting cloud space, so who knows if this demi-human came from there. Speaking of which, there's someone in the hyperspace dimension who's been very dazzling recently. Thank you for your support, brothers. Thank you. Chapter 25-22. It's that guy called Xianxia, right? I heard that he's even more talented than Shao Qingfeng in the Void God civilization. He's ruthless, but I don't know if he'll go to the Great Path. It won't be that easy to go to the Great Path. Maybe he'll go to another academy first. Zhang Xiaodao shouted. Surpass Shao Qingfeng? He's quite capable. I hope he comes to the Lost Academy. I'll reluctantly accept him as a follower and show him off in front of Shao Qingfeng. Moo sneered. Shao Qingfeng will probably beat you up. Piss off. You can have this woman. She's so big I'm not interested, Zhang Xiaodao said. In the end, the demi-human woman went to Moo. In the distance, Luo Lauer whispered, "Seventh bro, don't mind him. He's just like that. He's a typical hothead who dares to scold and offend anyone. If it wasn't for his father Jiang Xing protecting him, he would have died a long time ago." Who's that Moo? Lu Yin asked. How could he care about Zhang Xiaodao? That guy was obviously the same as Ku Wei. If he wanted to beat someone up, he had to beat them into submission. Otherwise he would go around shouting. Luo Lauer replied, I haven't heard anything about him, but he's definitely a ruthless person who has someone like Jiang Xing behind him. Lu Yin looked at Zhang Xiaodao and then at Moo. He rubbed his chin and decided to find a chance to lock them all up in Mount Supreme. The Six Directions Society would probably explode. Interesting. Next up is the last item of the day, a piece of calligraphy. After that, the cloudy stone lifted up and an image appeared. It was indeed a piece of calligraphy. It was filled with words, but it was different from what the crowd had imagined. The words on it were ugly, extremely ugly. It looked like the scribbles of a child. When they saw the handwriting clearly, it immediately attracted a wave of curses, especially from Zhang Xiaodao. Are you guys crazy about money? Even my handwriting is more beautiful than this. Also, what the hell are you writing? I can't understand a single word. That doesn't stop it from being ugly. The handwriting is indeed ugly. The person below smiled bitterly. Everyone, please listen to me. Although the handwriting is ugly, it contains a unique artistic conception. Every stroke and every drawing has a charm to it. Anyone who sees the actual copy will unconsciously have an epiphany, and the scene they see will be different. Some people can see battle techniques, some can see the artistic conception of mountains and rivers, and even some can see strange things. In short, this copy is today's finale. Just because you say so? What evidence do you have? Jiang Xiaodao shouted. The person below was helpless. If you don't believe me, there's nothing we can do about it. We can only let it go unsold. Fortunately, the previous 6 items were enough to make everyone happy. It was not a waste of everyone's time. If no one bid for it, it would naturally be left unsold. It was normal for a copybook with such ugly handwriting to be left unsold. Luo Lao, do you have money? How much? He stared at the copybook. Although the words on it were ugly, he really wanted to obtain it. This was because the words on it were ancient characters, which were similar to the Wen family's literary prison and the Daoist sect's golden characters. He did not expect to encounter the 5th continent's ancient language here. If it could be written in ancient language, it would definitely be extraordinary, and he really wanted to obtain it. Luo Lauer flipped through it. 7th bro, I really don't have much money. I'm not lying to you. Take as much as you have, Lu Yin said. Luo Lauer sighed. 7th bro, don't even think about it. Every item here has a starting price. Otherwise, Jiang Xiaodao could threaten everyone and casually take everything away with a bit of money. Lu Yin had not considered this possibility. Luo Lauer said, the starting price of this copybook is definitely higher than the previous 6 items. Think about the starting price of the first energy source. I don't even have enough money on me to buy that energy source. Lu Yin was disappointed and he stared at the person below. At the same time, he used his domain to make a mark on the person's body. He had to get his hands on this copybook, and it seemed like this wasn't the first time he had done something like this. He had originally thought that the copybook would be left unsold. No one knew what was going on, but Jiang Xiaodao and Mu Mu were at odds with each other again, and they started bidding for the copybook. The price of the copybook continued to soar, and Lu Yin raised his brows. The star essence could be used, then he could just casually name a number and scare them silly. The bidding between the two grew more and more intense, and it was no longer just a competition for the copybook, but also a battle of personal feelings. In the end, Mu Mu lost the bid because he had previously bought the demi-human girl, and the copybook went to Jiang Xiaodao. Ah, a woman is still a woman. I didn't fight with you before, but you still took advantage of me. I just had to move a finger and you were already kneeling. Jiang Xiaodao was pleased with himself. Mu Mu snorted. You used this price to get such an ugly copybook. Jiang Xing will beat you to death when we get back. Jiang Xiaodao glared. I'll go beat up that freak of yours and teach him a lesson. I'll show him who he can't afford to offend. Jiang Xiaodao, don't you dare. Mu Mu shouted. Do you dare to come and see? All right, you're itching for a beating. I'll teach his son a lesson for Jiang Xing. Come if you dare. I'll come. Soon enough, the two left the cave. The crowd hurriedly followed as there was a good show to watch. Luo Lauer was excited. 7th bro, it's going to be fun. Jiang Xiaodao and Mu Mu are fighting. Let's go and watch the show. One was a descendant of a progenitor from the reincarnation spacetime, while the other was from the wood spacetime. They had studied at the Sixth Direction training rites for a long time and had dabbled in various civilizations, which would allow him to better understand the Sixth Direction Association. There were too many empty places in Cliff Town, and there was no atmosphere of gathering together to set up stalls like in ordinary markets. They were all far away from each other. Not long after they left the cave, many of the people participating in the secret auction headed in the same direction. Some were fast while others were slow. Lu Yin didn't make it too obvious and followed behind the crowd. However, the fastest person had already disappeared without a trace. Bang! There was a loud bang accompanied by a rippling wave of energy. This wave of energy was as gentle as water, causing Luo Lauer to retreat a few steps. The people around him were also sent flying. Lu Yin was surprised and looked into the distance. He saw a graceful figure flying up and down, attacking crazily like a tyrannosaurus. Every move was accompanied by palm shadows that contained the Tao of transformation. Was this a half-ancestor battle technique? The woman's palm shadows seemed simple, but they were all linked together. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to see the changes, and if they couldn't, they would be hit. Even if this wasn't a half-ancestor battle technique, it was still a battle technique on the level of an emissary at the 6th tribulation origin stage. Stone Gate 8 hands? How many times have you learned it? Zhang Xiaodao's irritating voice sounded out, and he kept retreating as he spoke. The graceful figure was Mu Mu. Her expression was calm during the battle, but there was a crazed look in her eyes. Her attacks were even fiercer. Guess. Another change appeared in her palm. Lu Yin's eyes narrowed. The second change was the Stone Gate 8 hands? That meant that there were 8 changes. The first and second changes already displayed the power of a half-ancestor battle technique. This meant that the Stone Gate 8 hands was likely a progenitor battle technique. Luo Lauer panted heavily and finally managed to shake off the remaining force. You almost threw me off. 7th bro, let's just watch from here. We can't get too close. The people in front of him kept retreating. Mu Mu and Zhang Xiaodao were not weak, and they had already displayed the power level of a beacon lighter. In Lu Yin's eyes, they both had the power level of an emissary, and once they displayed their power level, the people around them wouldn't even be able to get close to them. Shi Hong was considered pretty good in the hexagon training rites, but she only had the power level of an enlighter at most. She was far from being a peak enlighter, and this was the difference between them. On the other side, Shi Hong led Suiyu further away from Zhang Xiaodao's battle. Suiyu wanted to get closer, but he was stopped by Shi Hong. I don't know what Zhang Xiaodao's cultivation is, but Mu Mu's power level is definitely between a green and blue energy source. She's not someone you and I can contend against. Zhang Xiaodao dared to fight her, so he might be at that level as well. Don't get too close, it's too dangerous. Suiyu's eyes lit up as he stared into the distance with longing. This was what it meant to be a cultivator, and this was what it meant to fight. In comparison, fighting with an energy source was too monotonous. Mu Mu's strong attacks caused Zhang Xiaodao to retreat continuously. It seemed that Zhang Xiaodao was being suppressed, but there was always a gentle force around Zhang Xiaodao. It was this force that dissolved Mu Mu's palm shadows and softened Mu Mu's strong attacks. Otherwise, Luo Lauer and the others would not have been thrown out, but would have vomited blood. 2 moves? You've only grasped 2 moves? That's boring. I'll deal with you. Zhang Xiaodao's power level suddenly increased, and a terrifying power spread out from him. It was visible to the naked eye as it continued to expand, causing the void to crack and reveal the might of an emissary. He took a step forward and disappeared in front of Mu Mu. Mu Mu was not to be outdone, and a similarly terrifying force rose up and shot into the sky. It attracted the attention of everyone in Cliff Town, and many people were shocked. Not everyone in the hexagon training rites had such power level, and this level of power was considered top-notch even among the hexagon training rites. Zhang Xiaodao appeared behind Mu Mu, a stream of water appearing in his palm. Try my astral river. Mu Mu turned around, and the vegetation around him flew into the air. Tree bark suddenly appeared and spun around his body, forming the shape of a wheel. Wooden wheel. The river in Zhang Xiaodao's palm surged violently, and although it was only the size of a palm, anyone who saw it would feel like they were looking at a surging river that was enough to drown out the heavens. The spinning wheel around Mu Mu's body also replaced the heavenly cycle and collided with the astral river. A huge impact spread out and instantly reached Lu Yin's group. They were caught off guard and were sent flying by the force. Lu Yin pretended to be sent flying, but his gaze remained fixed on the 2 youths. Whether it was the astral river battle technique or the wooden wheel, both were quite good, and they were definitely progenitor battle techniques. These were the geniuses of the Hexagon Association with progenitor backgrounds, and no one else could compare to them. Luo Lauer screamed as he was sent flying, but Lu Yin grabbed him and stabilized him. In the distance, Shi Hong continuously retreated with Suiyu. They were very far away, but even so they were still pushed back. Suiyu's heart was suppressed, and he could not help but pant violently. He almost couldn't catch his breath, and he looked at Zhang Xiaodao's group with fear. Mu Mu and Zhang Xiaodao retreated at the same time. Mu Mu took several steps back and placed his left foot on the ground. A 3-colored sovereign aura appeared around his body and imprinted itself onto his wooden wheel. Let's try again. Zhang Xiaodao raised a brow. Stupid woman. Once again, thank you for your support, brothers. Chapter 25-23. Moo Moo was furious and took a step forward, but she suddenly felt that something was wrong. She looked down and saw that a card had appeared beneath her feet. Her heart sank. This was the Lost Races method. Just as she thought this, a strange vortex appeared beneath her feet and pulled her in. Luoyin was shocked. That's the Lost Races card? Luo Lauer replied, yes, the Lost Race has the skills and ability to create cards. Each card represents a killing trap that suits the card's owner the most. The card's owner will constantly research a suitable killing trap and seal it within the card. It's a nightmare for any enemy, including the Everlasting Race. I've seen the Lost Race fight on the battlefield. They use the card as a trap, and any Everlasting Race monster that falls into it will have a hard time coming out. Only 1 out of 10 Lost Race cultivators will come out alive. In all of the 6 Direction Society's battles, it seems like the Void God civilization is the safest to hide behind, but in reality, the Lost Race has always had the lowest mortality rate. Zhang Xiaodao laughed when he saw Moo Moo being dragged in. He entered the card at the same time, but the card disappeared. Luoyin subconsciously used his domain to search for the card, but he could feel that it was still in that space. It was as if it was in a parallel universe and he couldn't find it. His domain had reached the empty god realm, and he could eavesdrop on the conversations of half-ancestors with his envoys. Even so, he still couldn't find the card. At this moment he was very interested in the Lost Races card, just like when he had first encountered the rune lines. The people who had been sent flying by the collision slowly recovered. Moo Moo is in danger now that she's been brought into the card, someone in the distance said. Someone nearby said, not necessarily. How long has it been since Zhang Xiaodao joined the Lost Race? He didn't have time to set up a killing trap, and Moo Moo still has room to fight back. The Wood Dimension's power can't be underestimated. Every cultivator from the Wood Dimension has an innate gift, but Moo Moo hasn't used it yet. It's said that her innate gift is to nurture a bird called the Golden Crow. I've heard about it too. It's a tree from the Wood Dimension that can withstand high temperatures. More and more people arrived, and people were watching the battle from all directions. The people who came later gradually understood what had happened, and they watched with fervent gazes. Many people wanted to learn the Lost Race's power, but it was too difficult. Many people had already been chased away because they hadn't started, and not everyone could learn it. Not long after, under everyone's gaze, the card suddenly appeared. It turned red and burst into flames. 2 figures appeared at the same time. Moo Moo's entire body was burning with flames. On his shoulder, a bird the size of a palm raised its head. The flames were coming from its body, burning through the sky, causing Cliff Town to become extremely hot in an instant. On the other side, Zhang Xiaodao's clothes had been burned quite a bit. Even half of his eyebrows had been burned off. Moo Moo, you're really treacherous. You spread the word that the Golden Crow couldn't be used for the time being, but you could have used it long ago. Moo Moo sneered. Who are you calling stupid? I think you're the stupidest. Zhang Xiaodao snorted coldly. Do you think you have it easy? Those arrows didn't feel good, right? Due to the flames, the light was too dazzling, so no one noticed that Moo Moo was also injured. There were several red spots on her body, which were obviously bloodstains. No one knew what had happened inside the card, but it was clear that neither of them was feeling well. Moo Moo glared at Zhang Xiaodao. I'm not Moo Moo if I don't burn you until you're deformed. After saying that, the flaming bird melted, forming a layer of magma-like red substance that flowed over Moo Moo's body. It was as if she was wearing a flaming battle robe. On the other side, Zhang Xiaodao stretched out his palms and said, you can try. After that, a river gushed out from his palms. As he raised his palms and struck out, the river surrounded him and Moo Moo, trapping them within. Moo Moo suddenly rushed out and slapped at Zhang Xiaodao. It was still the stone gate's 8 hands, but with the support of the flames, it made Zhang Xiaodao extremely wary. Stupid woman, behind you. Moo Moo suddenly turned around. An arrow had appeared out of nowhere and was extremely close to her. It was so close that she could touch it. She hurriedly dodged it. The arrow passed through her shadow and hit Zhang Xiaodao. However, it swept past Zhang Xiaodao and fell into the surrounding river. Immediately after, another arrow was shot out from the other side of the river. The arrow seemed weak, but it still made Moo Moo rather wary. Outsiders might not be able to discern the power of the arrow, but Lu Yin's expression turned solemn. It was a secret technique and Jiang Xiaodao had used it. The river arrow seemed weak, but when it neared Mu Mu, even the flames on her body were suppressed. Although it wasn't obvious, it was still a threat. Mu Mu's alertness was high, and she was able to sense it and quickly evade it. Fortunately, she had managed to dodge, or else she would not have been able to handle the secret technique. Who would have thought that a progenitor from the reincarnation realm would have created a secret technique as well? It was becoming more and more similar to the fifth mainland. The river arrow continued to move faster and faster. At first, Mu Mu had been able to dodge while attacking Jiang Xiaodao, but as the arrow moved faster and faster, it became more and more difficult for her to dodge. When the river arrow brushed past her and left a bloody mark on her shoulder, Mu Mu's expression changed. She pushed out with both palms and used a third transformation. Jiang Xiaodao shrieked, "A third technique? You're really sinister." Mu Mu's 3 hands merged into a single palm. The monarch's aura was imprinted on it, and the outermost layer was covered in lava-like flames. She combined all sorts of techniques and grabbed the arrow that was flying towards her. Mu Mu firmly grasped the arrow in her hand. Although it still left a bloody mark, it had been neutralized. When Jiang Xiaodao saw that his secret technique had been neutralized, he turned around and fled without hesitation. The river dissipated and turned into 4 heavenly rivers that surged towards Mu Mu. Without Jiang Xiaodao, the 4 heavenly rivers were no longer a threat to Mu Mu. Mu Mu burned the 4 heavenly rivers and immediately chased after Jiang Xiaodao when she saw him fleeing. "Jiang Xiaodao, stop!" Jiang Xiaodao shouted, "Stupid woman, no discord, no concord. I'll give Mu Shi face and stop. Shameless, I'll burn your eyebrows." Mu Mu shouted as the two gradually disappeared into the distance. The crowd was still unsatisfied. Lu Yin was also not satisfied. Although the battle between the two had been exciting and had allowed him to see the battle methods of various civilizations, their level was still too low. How good would it be if they were fighting 2 half-ancestors? The crowd slowly dispersed. Zuiyu was envious. "Sister Hong, I'll be able to do that one day, right?" Shi Hong replied, "Of course you'll be able to do it one day." Zuiyu clenched his fists. "One day I'll be able to fight those 2. Shi Hong was stunned as that was not what she meant. Although those 2 were currently stronger than them, they would be able to reach that realm one day through cultivation. However, those 2 would definitely be even stronger by then. Even she did not have the confidence to stand on the same level as those 2, so where did this brat's confidence come from? It's good to have confidence. Work hard. Shi Hong did not discourage her and left with Zuiyu. Lu Yin walked over to where Mu Mu and Jiang Xiaodao had fought. Fong looked at the cracked ground and the unstable void. He looked in a certain direction where the card had been placed. "7th bro, are you interested in the Lost Tribe's power?" Luo Lauer asked. Lu Yin nodded. "A very interesting power." Luo Lauer hurriedly said, "You should give up on that idea. Many people want to learn the Lost Tribe's power but they can't. There were 12 people in the first batch who joined the Lost Dao Academy, but only 3 managed to gain entry. Senior Su Xiangyin probably won't agree to you going there to study." Lu Yin did not say anything else. Although he was curious about the Lost Tribe's power, there were too many civilizations in the universe, and the Hexagon Society might not be the strongest in a parallel universe. There were definitely other parallel universes that did not share a border with the Hexagon Society or even the Everlasting Tribe. Who knew what kind of civilizations had developed there? It was impossible for him to learn all of them. If you want to go to the Grand Dao Academy, you need to learn 4 civilizations. I've already gained entry to the Void God civilization, so the Sovereign Aura isn't difficult. I still need to find at least 2 more civilizations to learn from. After all, I'm still unfamiliar with the Hyperspace Academy, so I can't go there." Luo Lauer replied, "Of course not. Actually, gaining entry to the Hyperspace Academy isn't much easier than the Lost Dao Academy. They don't need cultivation but brains. If you want to gain entry to a hyperspace civilization, you need to have some achievements in research and cultivation techniques." Lu Yin had already guessed that this was the case. Otherwise, anyone could also gain entry to the Hyperspace Academy. Luo Lauer saw Lu Yin staring at the ground and his eyes flashed. Going to the Grand Dao Academy was a good idea. Otherwise, once he left and went to the Void God spacetime, how would he be able to meet Zi Jing through this person? The longer he could stay in the Hexagon training grounds, the better. 7th bro, there are 2 more civilizations. Which one do you want to choose? The Reincarnation Academy, the Hyperspace Academy, the Wood Academy, and the Lost Academy. I advise you to give up on the Lost Academy, it's too dangerous. The Reincarnation Academy is the most suitable for you. After all, you came from a cultivation civilization, so it shouldn't be difficult for you to gain entry. The Wood Academy seems to be the only one left. Lu Yin thought of Mu Mu's battle. It's said that every cultivator in the wood spacetime has an innate gift. How do they get it? Luo Lauer coughed. This involves the cultivation system of the wood spacetime. It's said that the wood spacetime has fruits that allow people to get close to trees and turn them into wood. Anyone who picks the fruits and eats them can obtain an innate gift from the various trees in the wood spacetime. Outsiders really don't know much about the wood spacetime. I only learned about it through my father. Lu Yin listened quietly as Luo Lauer told him everything he knew about the wood spacetime. It was obvious that he was being sincere this time. The two left the battlefield and continued towards Cliff Town. Lu Yin gradually gained a better understanding of the wood spacetime. After listening to Luo Lauer's explanation, the first thing he thought of was the mother tree. If he cultivated the power of the wood spacetime, would he be able to obtain an innate gift from the mother tree? If it was possible, why didn't the wood spacetime try to come to the cosmic tree? With such a huge mother tree there, he didn't believe that the people of the wood spacetime wouldn't covet it. What about the reincarnation spacetime? Lu Yin asked. Luo Lauer cleared his throat. The reincarnation spacetime is simple. It cultivates like many other cultivation civilizations, but there's one difference, which is the fundamental reason why the reincarnation spacetime is always the leader of the Six Direction Society. The 3 venerables and 9 sages are never absent, and the reincarnation spacetime will always have the 3 venerables and 9 sages. Chapter 25-24. Lu Yin was surprised. Why is that? Luo Lauer whispered, it's because of the seats. The 3 venerables and 9 sages in the reincarnation spacetime don't refer to 12 people but 12 seats. Anyone who meets the requirements can inherit this seat. Once they inherit the seat, they can obtain the power that the seat represents. Lu Yin's pupils shrank. How is that possible? Luo Lauer smiled bitterly. It's unbelievable, right? My father had the same expression when he mentioned the reincarnation spacetime, and it's the same expression every time. Envy, jealousy, all of it. Lu Yin frowned. 12 seats meant 12 progenitors. How could one obtain the power of a progenitor by obtaining a seat? He could accept that the black energy from the reincarnation spacetime had given the human progenitor power through the use of energy, but how could a cultivation civilization bestow the power of a progenitor? Absolutely impossible. Luo Lauer whispered, 7th bro, this is the secret of the reincarnation spacetime. Of course, many important people know about it, but it can't be spread. Do you know why Jiang Xiaodao is so arrogant? If nothing unexpected happens, Jiang Sheng's seat will be his in the future. You can think of him as a quasi-saint. Many people want to flatter him and follow him. Because of this, no one wants to offend a quasi-saint. Lu Yin exclaimed, are there any other seats besides the 3 venerables and 9 sages? Luo Lauer nodded. Yes, the seat of immortality. One can also obtain power through the seat. Lu Yin looked in the direction of the Reincarnation Dao Academy. What was going on with this civilization? How could they do such a thing? If that was the case, then it would explain why the 3 venerables and 9 sages had never failed. It would also explain why the Grand Empyrean was the master of all the 3 venerables and 9 sages. This Grand Empyrean definitely possessed unimaginable power. No wonder the Yuan sage was so arrogant and made them kneel in front of the Grand Empyrean. No wonder he looked down on the 5th mainland so much. Ever since the secret of the reincarnation space was discovered, many people have entered the reincarnation space in an attempt to obtain a seat. However, too few have obtained it. Some seats can be competed for while others can never be obtained, Luo Lauer lamented. You know quite a lot, Lu Yin said. Lauer smiled. After all, my father is Luo Jun. Lu Yin glanced at him. His relationship with Luo Jun was definitely not as simple as it seemed. If Luo Jun didn't care about him, then she wouldn't have told him all this. Just as he had guessed before, the reason why he was left in the hyperspace as a proton was more likely to protect him. Luo Lauer would be protected by the hyperspace as a hostage, which was much safer than being in the 3 monarch space. He walked around Cliff Town and saw many things from various civilizations. He also saw other people fighting fiercely, but compared to Mu Mu and Jiang Xiaodao, the difference was too great. Just as he was about to return with Luo Lauer, his expression changed as he saw something unbelievable. Was that Surizen? Surizen, along with Zhang Dingtian, Bai Shui, Su San and Lu Yin, had left Earth in the same batch to enter outer space. However, they had all disappeared along the way. They had been taken away by Hai Dalu of the Hidden Earth in hopes that one of them would be able to reach the peak. He had found Zhang Dingtian, Bai Shui and Su San, but there was still no sign of Surizen. After all, so many years had passed and his name had spread throughout the universe. If Surizen was still alive, there would have been news of him. He didn't expect to bump into him here. Seeing Surizen's stall in front of him, Lu Yin almost went over to greet him. Even with his years of cultivation, he almost couldn't control himself. He was very curious as to why Surizen had come to the Hexagon Training Hall. This was not a place that ordinary people could enter, and the man was already very old. Not counting Lu Xiaoshuan's generation, Lu Yin was about the same age as Zhang Dingtian and the others. In the above heaven, he was considered a member of the younger generation, but Surizen was not. Lu Yin stared at Surizen and was surprised to find that the man actually had the power of an enlighter, which was quite good. His body had also undergone some strange changes, but Lu Yin couldn't tell what they were. The changes were especially obvious when he raised his withered arm. Seventh bro, Luo Lauer called out a few times. Lu Yin retracted his gaze and walked over to Surizen's stall. Luo Lauer followed. Surizen's eyes were closed and he didn't care about their approach. Lu Yin glanced at Surizen and then looked down at the items in his stall. They're all very ordinary. Seventh bro, what are you interested in? I'll give it to you. Luo Lauer was very generous, but he couldn't say this in a private auction. Lu Yin asked, brother, can you introduce what you're selling? Surizen opened his eyes and met Lu Yin's gaze. He spoke in a hoarse voice, we've met before. Lu Yin raised his brows, you can see my face? Surizen replied, no, but we've met before. Luo Lauer was curious as he still didn't know which parallel universe Lu Yin had come from. Surizen thought about it, I've met too many people so I can't remember, but I'm sure I've met you before. Lu Yin smiled, isn't this method a little too old-fashioned? Surizen stopped talking and closed his eyes again. Luo Lauer was dissatisfied. Hey, why are you sleeping when I asked you to introduce something? Surizen replied, if it's meant to be then I'll buy it. If it's not meant to be then I'll leave. Luo Lauer sneered, don't give me that. You make it sound so mysterious as if you have something good. If you force me I'll take it all away. At this moment, Lu Yin looked to his left and saw a figure rushing over, slamming into Lu Yin and Luo Lauer. Luo Lauer was about to curse but shut up when he saw who it was. It was Jiang Xiaodao. Stupid woman, your freak is here. Burn him if you can, Jiang Xiaodao shouted. He was standing behind Surizen and Lu Yin almost couldn't help but kick him. Lu Yin was speechless. These two weren't done yet. Mu Mu arrived, panting heavily as she glared at Jiang Xiaodao. Hostages? Did Jiang Xing teach you that? Self-taught. Jiang Xiaodao shouted. Mu Mu waved. Scram, I'm not going to bother you today. Jiang Xiaodao snorted. I'm the one who let you go. Jiang Xiaodao, I think you're asking for a beating. Mu Mu's body burned with flames. Jiang Xiaodao threatened, your freak is in the Lost Dao Academy. If you show your teeth to me again I won't let him in. Surizen spoke calmly, I've already entered. Jiang Xiaodao blinked. Since when? That's not important. Stupid woman, if you show your teeth again I'll make sure you can't find your card. Surizen looked up. I've already found my card. You found it? Jiang Xiaodao was surprised. However, he gritted his teeth. Then I'll destroy your card. My card was burned by that stupid woman anyway. Come on, let's hurt each other. Mu Mu's head hurt. She looked at Surizen then at Jiang Xiaodao and glared at him. You better be careful, don't fall into my hands. With that she turned and left. Jiang Xiaodao was pleased. Stupid woman, aren't you arrogant? Come on, let's see who's more manly. When Lu Yin saw this scene he really wanted to go up and kick him. Even Luo Lauer couldn't stand it. This guy was asking for a beating. If he inherited Jiang Sheng's legacy and became the new Jiang Sheng, who knew how many people would suffer? Mu Mu completely disappeared. Jiang Xiaodao heaved a sigh of relief and patted Saruzan's shoulder. Thank you, weirdo. Without you, that stupid woman would have forced me out of Cliff Town. I would have lost all my face then. Saruzan calmly replied, we're both in the same boat, so I'll help if I can. Jiang Xiaodao's eyelids twitched. What nonsense are you talking about? You're the one who's in the same boat. I don't even know if you're cursing her or not. Alright, I'm leaving. It was only then that he noticed Lu Yin and Luo Lauer close by. He coughed. Did you see my aura just now? Luo Lauer was speechless. Yes. Jiang Xiaodao was satisfied. That's good. What do you say when you get out? Yes. Luo Lauer was very obedient. He didn't want to provoke this guy. Jiang Xiaodao smiled. Smart. Which academy are you from? Luo Lauer subconsciously replied, the Void God Academy. He regretted it as soon as he said it. He had actually exposed his identity. Jiang Xiaodao had only asked casually, but the mention of the Void God Academy had piqued his interest. I heard that there's a guy from the Void God Academy who's been very active lately. People keep comparing him to Xiao Qingfeng. What do you think? Is he stronger than Xiao Qingfeng? Luo Lauer was helpless. He had already been exposed, so he could only say, that's what I heard. We don't understand the world of you geniuses. Jiang Xiaodao praised him. You sure know how to talk. Go tell that Xianxia that I admire him. I'll give him a chance to work for me. This is an opportunity that countless people can only dream of. It's a chance that Jiang Xing will give him in the future. He patted Saruzan's shoulder again and walked away arrogantly. Luo Lauer looked at Lu Yin. Brother-in-law, did you hear that? Lu Yin replied, I'm going to the Lost Dao Academy. Luo Lauer was astonished, but he advised, brother-in-law, don't bother with that idiot. He's just a sh*t stir who can spit at anyone he sees. It's not worth it. Lu Yin naturally wouldn't argue with Jiang Xiaodao. He wanted to get closer to Saruzan. Since he had to learn from 2 more civilizations, why not learn from the Lost Tribe? This power also interested him, and no one had said that the Hexagon training grounds could only learn from 4 civilizations. As long as he was willing, he could learn from all of them. This wasn't the right time to speak with Saruzan, so Lu Yin and Luo Lauer left Cliff Town and returned to the Void God Academy. This trip to Cliff Town had piqued his interest in the Hexagon training grounds, and it also confirmed that he was going to the Lost Dao Academy. If he wanted to go there, he would have to apply through the Void God Academy, which shouldn't be a problem. The only obstacle was Zhou Xian. Lu Yin's guess was right. Zhou Xian was the highest-ranking person the Void God civilization had placed in the Hexagon training grounds. When he heard that Xianxia had applied to go to the Lost Dao Academy, he immediately came. You're going to the Lost Dao Academy? Zhou Xian asked Lu Yin directly. Chapter 25-25. Lu Yin respectfully replied, Yes, senior. I would like to go to the Lost Dao Academy next. Zhou Xian vetoed. No, you're extremely talented in the Void God Dao, and it's a waste of time to learn from other civilizations. Even that old fogey Zhibing would not agree to it. Lu Yin replied, I went to Cliff Town and saw the Lost Clan's battle style. Senior, you should know that there are occasional epiphanies in the path of cultivation, and I confirmed that the Lost Clan's battle style gave me some inspiration for my cultivation and allowed me to gain some epiphanies. Zhou Xian was suspicious. What does the Lost Race have to do with my Void God civilization? Did watching them battle give you an epiphany? Lu Yin replied, I'm not sure either, just like how I don't know why I'm so talented in the Void God Dao. Zhou Xian thought about it and felt that Lu Yin was right. Was this kid lying or something? He couldn't tell, but if he didn't lie, could the Lost Race's civilization really give him inspiration? Ordinary people could not understand the world of geniuses, and in many people's eyes, there was only a fine line between a genius and a lunatic. Zhou Xian admitted that he was just a normal cultivator and was far from being a genius, so he couldn't understand what these geniuses were thinking. Lu Yin continued, I heard that Su Ji is at the Wood Dao Academy. Perhaps the Academy's power can give him inspiration. Zhou Xian was stunned, but then he nodded. That's true. When Su Ji wanted to come to the 6 direction training rites, I found it very strange. With his talent in the Void God civilization, there was no need for him to learn from other civilizations. Now it seems like that might be the reason. He then looked at Lu Yin seriously. Are you sure that the Lost Race's civilization can give you inspiration? Absolutely, Lu Yin said confidently. Zhou Xian hesitated. But it's very difficult to learn the Lost Race's civilization. Do you know how low the success rate is? Lu Yin smiled. If I fail to learn the Lost Race's civilization, wouldn't it be better for me to focus on the Void God civilization instead? Su Xianxia sighed. Alright, you've made sense. I'll go talk to Ji Bing and let you go to the Lost Dao Academy to see if you can learn the Lost Race. We've already agreed that if Ji Bing determines that you can't learn the Lost Race, then no matter how long you've studied there, even if it's just a day. Lu Yin replied, I understand. Thank you, Senior. Cultivate here for now. You'll be able to go to the Lost Dao Academy soon, Su Xianxia instructed. Actually, the Void God Dao Academy could only allow Lu Yin to cultivate by absorbing Void God's power, but Lu Yin had surpassed others by a few years in just 2 months of cultivation. Staying in the Void God Dao Academy was a waste of time. Su Xianxia really wanted to take Lu Yin away and wait for the higher-ups' decision. Soon Su Xianxia found the Lost Dao Academy. What? You're letting that treasure of yours come to the Lost Dao Academy? On the opposite side of Su Xianxia, a thin and shriveled old man exclaimed. Su Xianxia said, he applied for it himself, saying that he was inspired by watching the Lost Race fight. I don't even know where he got that inspiration from. The shriveled old man's name was Ji Bing, and like Su Xianxia, he was the person in charge of the Lost Race's 6 direction training rites. He sized up Su Xianxia. Of course you won't understand. My Lost Race is the essence of the human race's development. You guys are just collateral damage. Su Xianxia grew impatient. Alright, let Xianxia go to the Lost Dao Academy to learn for 2 days. Help me take a look, and if he can't be initiated, then let him come back as soon as possible. You should know how talented he is in the Void God Dao. Humans cannot lower their guard against the threat of the everlasting race. Ji Bing was dissatisfied. How is learning my Lost Race's battle techniques a waste of time? Even so, he still agreed to Su Xianxia's request. Although they argued, there were some things that they shared the same goal. It wasn't just them, the entire 6 Direction Association shared the same goal. This was also why hyperspace was willing to let go of Lu Yin and why the 6 Direction training rites had been established. The 6 Direction training rites had not only been established to integrate the various civilizations and increase their overall strength, but also to find the most suitable cultivation geniuses for each civilization. Lu Yin was one of the rare geniuses who was extremely suitable for the Void God Dao. This was one of the greatest gains the 6 Direction training rites had made since its establishment. This was what Su Xianxia believed. Not long after, Lu Yin received a notification that he could go to the Lost Dao Academy. Luo Lauer was reluctant. Brother-in-law, what will I do in the Void God Dao Academy if you leave? Lu Yin replied, then hurry up and enter the academy, then go to the Lost Dao Academy. Are you sure you can stay in the Lost Dao Academy? Senior Su Xianxia probably won't let you waste time. If he's sure that you won't enter the academy, then he might just leave in a few days, Luo Lauer guessed. Lu Yin smacked him on the head. Curse me. Luo Lauer felt wronged. I wouldn't dare. Brother-in-law, if the Lost Dao Academy leaves, where will you go? Will you return to the Void God Dao Academy or another academy? Lu Yin hadn't even considered this question. He stood up and looked back at the void. Although he had created a miracle in the Void God Dao Academy and shocked everyone there, causing Xia Wu and the others to not dare to cause trouble for him, he had never visited the academy before. He had only cultivated in the void, and this place still felt unfamiliar to him. He didn't know what the Lost Dao Academy was like. With his own cultivation, it shouldn't be difficult for him to enter the Lost Dao Academy. In the distance, Xia Wu and the others watched Lu Yin leave the Void God Dao Academy and heaved sighs of relief. This person had been suppressing them all this time, and they didn't even dare to come to the void. I heard that he went to the Lost Dao Academy. We don't have anyone there who can deal with him. How many people are there in total? Someone was unwilling to accept this. Xia Wu frowned. They still wanted to deal with him? That was just asking for trouble. Unless this person went to the Great Path sect and Sir Hushu could act, it would be difficult for anyone to deal with him, especially in a place like the Lost Dao Academy. Wait, the Lost Dao Academy? His eyes lit up. Wasn't that idiot Jiang Shaodao in the Lost Dao Academy? When he thought of this, he muttered to himself, if Jiang Shaodao knows that Xianxia went to the Lost Dao Academy, he should be very interested. Xiaofei, who was beside him, heard this and raised her head. That's right, Jiang Shaodao. Xianxia, Let's see if you can have such a good time in the Lost Dao Academy. Many people from the Void God Dao Academy sent Lu Yin off with the same person who had brought him to the Six Direction training rites. This person was the one who had brought Lu Yin to the Six Direction training rites, and now he was going to the Lost Dao Academy. This person glanced at Lu Yin from time to time. He hadn't expected this kid to be so talented in the Void God civilization. He was probably more than just a genius. The Lost Dao Academy is rather unique, so I'll send you here. Take care. Lu Yin was grateful. Thank you, Senior. The Lost Dao Academy was much more sinister than the Void God Dao Academy. The air was filled with a thick dark gray fog and the ground beneath his feet was muddy. Countless sharp weapons were stabbed into the ground, leaving only the handles exposed. From time to time huge creatures would fly past and all that could be heard were some strange noises. If the Void God Dao Academy was a very ordinary continent, then the Lost Dao Academy was the worst. It was like the harshest environment on land and everything could be found there. At that moment, a ray of light flashed past and shot towards Lu Yin. Lu Yin caught it and saw that it was a jade stone. He immediately checked it. He quickly put his hand down and headed in a certain direction. The Void God civilization's entrance was in the Void Lands, and only by seeing the power of a Void God could one be considered a beginner. The entrance to the Lost Dao Academy's civilization was similar to the Void Lands, and it was called Punching Card. Punching Card was a strange name, but it really was a punching card. Lu Yin arrived at the punching card area, which was a large, withered meadow. The ground was covered in withered yellow weeds that swayed in the wind, and the sky was an unnatural dark yellow. There was also a black smoke-like aura that soared into the sky from afar, making the place even more austere. There were dozens of people on the meadow, some sitting, some standing, and even more chasing after something as they struck the air with all sorts of weapons. If it weren't for the jade stone, Lu Yin wouldn't have understood what they were doing. In fact, they were indeed punching cards. The Lost Dao Academy civilization used cards to fight, and Lu Yin had seen Jiang Xiaodao in action. Once his card dragged Mu Mu into it, it would be hidden in the void. The entrance to the Lost Dao Academy civilization was to find the card hidden in the void, and this was punching cards. A gust of wind came from behind and Lu Yin dodged. A person holding a huge drumstick brushed past Lu Yin's side, almost hitting him. Sorry brother, I didn't notice. I'm really sorry, a man greeted Lu Yin apologetically. Lu Yin smiled, it's fine. This person didn't do it on purpose and the drumstick didn't have any killing power. Its only advantage was that it was big. I've been here for more than a month and I haven't even hit a single card. I don't know if there really is a card here or if we're in the wrong place, the man said helplessly as he put down the drumstick. Many people were hitting the air trying to find a card. Lu Yin shook his head. It was hidden in the void and it wasn't easy to find. He looked around and found that these people couldn't find a card, but he could. There were cards flying all around him, and even if these people used their weapons to hit a card, they would pass through it. This was the void. Let's continue, the man said as he stood up and encouraged himself. He then picked up the drumstick and started hitting. The grassland was huge and Lu Yin observed it for a while before finally finding a familiar face. Mudo. Mudo looked at Lu Yin in shock. Why are you here? Lu Yin replied, same as you. Mudo's eyelids twitched. I heard about what happened at the Void God Dao Academy, but isn't that too fast? It's alright, the Void God civilization is quite easy to learn, Lu Yin replied. Mudo was stunned. Was that so? This grassland wasn't just filled with newcomers. There were also people from the first batch of Hexagon training rites who had learned from the Void God civilization. He had heard from that person that the Void God civilization wasn't much easier than the Lost Dao Academy, so why did this person make it sound so easy? You haven't hit a card yet? Lu Yin asked. Mudo grumpily replied, I can't find one, it's too hard. Lu Yin nodded. The Lost Dao Academy wasn't a place to teach, but rather a place to eliminate people. There was no help at all and it just let people hit a card. How could someone who didn't understand the void succeed? Most people would be eliminated. Chapter 25-26. From Lu Yin's point of view, these cards were not hidden too deeply, and they were far from where Jiang Xiaodao's card had been hidden. Even Lu Yin had not been able to find that card, but the cards here were as dazzling as torches. With that in mind, he reached into the void of space and took out a card. Mudo's mouth fell open as he stared blankly. Is this even possible? Look, it's quite simple, Lu Yin said before heading in a certain direction. There was a second patch of grass in that direction, and there was an even deeper card hidden there. According to the Jade, there were 3 places to check in. Newcomers had to successfully check in at the first patch of grass before they could proceed to the second patch, and only then could they proceed to the third patch. If one managed to check in at all 3 patches of grass, they would be considered a beginner. Most people were eliminated from the first and second patches because there were too few people who went to the third patch. Lu Yin grabbed the card and headed to the second patch of grass, leaving Mudo dumbfounded. He had been here for more than 2 months, but he still had no clue. How had this guy managed to catch it? What the hell? Many people in the area saw this as well, and they all stared blankly. The person with the giant drumstick was stunned. He seems to have just arrived. Lu Yin walked past the first patch of grass and noticed that the void had changed. He turned around and saw a large group of people staring at him blankly. Actually, the void of this first patch of grass was very weak, and anyone with a bit of cultivation or innate talent could check in. Unfortunately, transcendents were not suitable as they did not cultivate and could not compare to other civilizations. Lu Yin gradually disappeared under everyone's dazed gazes. Mudo was bitter. Was this the difference? Why was it so huge? That guy had clearly displayed an extremely monstrous innate talent in the Void God civilization, so why was it the same in the Lost Dao Academy? There were clearly fewer people in the second patch of grass, and there were almost no transcendents here. Everyone had come from other parallel universes, and most of them were from cultivation civilizations. Most of the people here were equivalent to explorers or cruisers. It was not difficult for them to check in at the first patch of grass, but it was not so easy for them to check in at the second patch. Lu Yin looked at the void and hid himself even deeper. Even enlighters might not be able to hit it, and this was the result of elimination. I got it. I got it. An ecstatic voice rang out. Everyone looked over to see a woman holding a dagger and stabbing it into a card in the air. The card continuously trembled, but it couldn't break free from the dagger. Congratulations, you've hit your card. You can go to the third patch of grass now, someone said enviously. It's only been a little more than 4 months. He's really a genius of the wood space-time. He transferred from the Monarch Dao College and he's already learned a second civilization. He's really talented. The woman happily listened to the flattery around her with a smug look on her face. As long as she learned the Lost Clan's civilization, she would be able to go to the Reincarnation Dao Academy and the Transdimensional Dao Academy next. With her cultivation talent and intelligence, she would definitely be able to get started. When the time came, she would be able to join the Great Dao sect. That was where she should go. Letting go of her hand, the card disappeared into thin air, and the woman walked towards the third patch of grass. As she walked, she noticed a shadow approaching her from behind. She turned around and looked at Lu Yin. Why are you following me? Let's go to the third patch of grass. The woman raised her eyebrows. You've successfully punched in? You just got here, right? I know everyone on the second patch of grass. Lu Yin smiled. I just got here. I was lucky and managed to punch in. He's already punched in as soon as he arrived? He was shocked. Which space-time are you from? Transdimensional, Lu Yin replied. She frowned. Nonsense, how can a transdimensional person punch in so easily? Lu Yin suddenly raised his hand and the woman couldn't react in time. She could only watch as his fingers approached her face. He was about to take liberties with her and she suddenly thought of something. This person actually dared to touch her face. He was courting death, but he was too fast. Suddenly, Lu Yin's fingers stopped in front of her eyes with a card between his fingertips. Her pupils shrank and she was shocked. How is this possible? Lu Yin smiled. Seems like a lot of people like to say those words. He then walked towards the third patch of grass. The woman looked at Lu Yin's back with a bitter expression. She had spent more than 4 months to punch in, but this person had succeeded as soon as he arrived. How was this possible? Was he a genius on the same level as Mumu? She quickly chased after him. Hey, what's your name? Which spacetime are you from? Don't tell me you're from Transdimensional, I don't believe it. Xianxia, Lu Yin replied indifferently. The woman was stunned. Xianxia. She had heard of this name before. Wasn't that the name of that genius from the Void God Dao Academy? The genius who had surpassed Shao Qingfeng and had been forcibly taken away from the transdimensional civilization by the Void God civilization had long since spread throughout the 6 direction training rites. He was Xianxia. At the same time in the Lost Dao Academy, Jiang Xiaodao had received the news and laughed maniacally. Xianxia actually came here? That's great. I want to see what this fellow who surpassed Xiao Qingfeng looks like, haha. News of Xianxi's visit to the Lost Dao Academy quickly spread throughout the six-direction training rites. Sui Yu's gaze was resolute. He had gone to the Lost Dao Academy so quickly? In just 2 months he had not only joined the Void God civilization, but he had also surpassed Xiao Qingfeng and He Shu. Just how much talent do you have, Xianqi? Shihong also received the news and her sword danced in the air. The next time we meet I won't let you break my swimming dragon flash. In the six-directional dojo in a secluded paradise, 2 figures sat facing each other in a pavilion. One of them was Mu Mu, while the other was the bespectacled man who had followed the Yuan sage to the Above Heaven sect. His name was He Shu. Why are you angry with Jiang Xiaodao? You know what kind of person he is, He Shu said as he poured a cup of tea for Mu Mu. Mu Mu snorted. I'll beat him up sooner or later. He then looked at the tea in his cup. Since when did you like drinking tea? You want to participate in the Great Heavenly Venerates tea party? He Shu shook his head and laughed. How could I be qualified? I just want to get closer to the Great Heavenly Venerate to a certain extent. Mu Mu said, everyone wants to get closer to the Great Heavenly Venerate, but it's too difficult. He Shu took a sip of tea with a calm expression. Mu Mu thought of something and said, I heard that a genius has appeared in the transdimensional civilization. He's extremely talented in the Void God civilization and even surpassed Xiao Qingfeng. He Shu said, he's not from the transdimensional civilization. He then put down his cup and looked into the distance. But he's still considered half of one. He went to the Lost Dao College, Mu Mu said. He Shu was startled and laughed. That's interesting. Jiang Xiaodao won't let him go. Mu Mu moved closer to He Shu and exuded a comfortable aura. Tell me honestly, how strong is that guy? Don't tell me you don't know. He Shu was helpless. I really don't know. Your sister definitely knows. I won't ask her. I shouldn't bother her with this kind of thing. I hope he's strong enough to beat Jiang Xiaodao up, Mu Mu said through gritted teeth. He Shu smiled. Jiang Xiaodao's strength is close to yours. He can't do it. Mu Mu was helpless. There are too few people at our age who have this kind of cultivation. I just hope that this guy has some backbone and doesn't get hurt by Jiang Xiaodao. After all, it's not easy to cultivate to the peak in a certain civilization. Maybe humanity will have another powerhouse in the future. He Shu's eyes flickered, but he didn't care about Xianqi. No matter what, this person still hadn't matured. He Shu thought of a man who had stood beside the Above Sky sect, scolded Yuan sages, and didn't fear the Great Heavenly Venerates. That person wasn't old, but he had reached that level. That person was his goal. Although he didn't want to admit it, no one in the Six-Direction Assembly had surpassed that person. Even Yuan sages sighed. If that person hadn't been from the Lu family, he would have been accepted as a disciple by the Great Heavenly Venerates and qualified to participate in the tea party. Tell me, is there anyone around my age who can control a space-time, scold the 3 Venerates and 9 sages, and ignore the Great Heavenly Venerates? He Shu suddenly asked. Mu Mu was surprised. It can't be. It's only possible if they go from a super-strong space-time to a weak parallel space-time. Any space-time, regardless of whether it's strong or weak, can determine one's status. At our age, if we grew up in a weak space-time, we wouldn't have the combat strength we have today. What if it's a space-time that's not weaker than the main space? He Shu muttered to himself. Mu Mu was puzzled. What's wrong with you? Why are you suddenly saying something like that? She looked at He Shu's side profile and thought of something. Are you thinking about those people? Don't think about it. Those people took a shortcut. Although they're around our age, they're comparable to powerhouses. They didn't cultivate by themselves. Isn't your sister the same? Don't think so much. He Shu's eyes narrowed. There were a few monsters in the Hexagon Association, but those monsters had all taken shortcuts. However, that Lu family kid was different. He wanted to walk the Lu family's path and not take this shortcut, but it was too difficult. It was so difficult that he couldn't see the direction. Perhaps he should go to the primordial space. Only there would he have a direction. Back in the Lost Dao Academy, Lu Yin walked from the second grassland to the third. There were very few people here and there were only a dozen or so as far as the eye could see. More than half of these people gave him a similar feeling as if they were from the same space-time continuum. When they saw someone approaching, they all looked over. It wasn't easy to reach the third meadow. They knew what it meant to be here, so they paid attention to anyone who came. Lu Yin calmly walked up to the third meadow, but his gaze turned cold. It was a bit difficult. Just like Zhang Xiaodao's card that was hidden in the void, the one on the third meadow couldn't be seen at a glance. However, it would only take a bit of effort. At this point, the girl caught up. "Oh, Xen, you're here. It's only been 4 months, but you're already here." "Not bad," someone exclaimed when they recognized her. Some of the others recognized her while others didn't. The girl named Xen looked deeply at Lu Yin and then smiled at the others. "It wasn't easy to find a card. I don't know how long it'll take." "Don't worry, you still have half a year. With your talent you'll definitely find one, but we might not. Xen, give us some soft water when you have time. Cultivating here is tiring and turbid." Xen smiled. "No problem." Chapter 25-27. "By the way, did you just come because you're unfamiliar with this place?" Someone asked curiously when they noticed Lu Yin. Everyone else looked at him as well. Lu Yin nodded. "It's been a while." "How long is a while?" a girl with a mole on her eyebrow asked. Lu Yin thought about it. "Not that long." This was a vague answer that couldn't even be considered an answer. The girl's expression turned ugly, but she didn't say anything. Not everyone liked to stir up trouble, and the fact that Lu Yin had come to the third patch of grass was proof of that. The third patch of grass wasn't as large as the first two, so Lu Yin found a corner and sat down. He closed his eyes and began to search for the card. The others discussed this matter from time to time. "Xen, how long did that guy stay in the second patch of grass?" "He's pretty arrogant," someone asked a man who wasn't far from the girl with the mole on her eyebrow. Xen replied. "He was just passing by." The others were confused. "What do you mean, passing by?" "He came here without finding a card." Someone's tone turned sour. If that was the case, then that person would definitely be chased away. Not everyone had the right to come here. Xen didn't know what to say either. He found the card as soon as he arrived at the second patch of grass. He didn't stop, and it was as if he was just passing by. Everyone was stunned and they all looked at Lu Yin in shock. How could he find a card in an instant? "I remember that Senior Zhang Xiaodao found the card in an instant at the first patch of grass, but he stayed in the second patch for 5 days, the girl with the mole on her eyebrow said. The man beside her said, "I remember that too." Senior Zhang Xiaodao's results were quite impressive, and perhaps only a few people can compare to him. This person found the card directly. "Xen, are you sure? Maybe you were too focused on finding the card and didn't notice him. By the way, do you know what his name is?" Xen glanced at Lu Yin. "Xianxia," the crowd exclaimed. "The one who created a miracle at the Void God Academy and surpassed Senior Shao Qingfeng?" Xen replied. "It should be. There's no one else named Xianxia." Everyone stared at Lu Yin in a completely different light. Most of them had come from the reincarnation spacetime and knew how terrifying Shao Qingfeng's innate gift was. To their knowledge, those with extreme gifts were the same no matter what they cultivated, but this person had surpassed Shao Qingfeng. Unbelievable. Knowing that this person was Xianxia, the crowd stopped talking and looked at him from time to time. Their initial dissatisfaction had also dissipated. Some people were born with the right to be arrogant, they had the right to be. Zhang Xiaodao came to the first patch of grass and started looking for Lu Yin. "Where's Xianxia?" There were many people on the first patch of grass. When they saw Zhang Xiaodao, they all bowed in unison. "Greetings, Senior Brother Zhang." Zhang Xiaodao shouted, "Where is Xianxia? Didn't he say it already? They haven't arrived yet?" Mudwa replied, Xianxia went to the second patch of grass." Zhang Xiaodao raised his eyebrows and smiled. "Interesting. You found a card as soon as you arrived?" With that, he leaped towards the second patch of grass. "I'm barely as impressive as I was back then." Soon he arrived at the second patch of grass. "Where's Xianxia?" The people on the second patch of grass were confused. "Xianxia? Was Xianxia here? That Xianxia who created miracles in the Void God Dao College?" Zhang Xiaodao glared at him. "What are you looking at?" "I'm looking for Xianxia." "Xianxia, come out." Everyone looked at each other blankly. Zhang Xiaodao grabbed one of them. "Where's Xianxia?" The person was terrified. "Senior Brother Zhang, there's no Xianxia." Zhang Xiaodao barked. He just arrived. Are you blind? Didn't you see him? The person was on the verge of tears. Senior brother Jiang, I really didn't see him. Suddenly he thought of something. Right, someone passed by the third patch of grass. Sagai. Could he be Xianxia? Zhang Xiaodao was surprised. He went to the third patch of grass? Senior brother Jiang. A pretty girl walked out and bowed towards Zhang Xiaodao with a smile. I saw someone pass by here and follow Mu Xinxin to the third patch of grass, but I don't know his name. He didn't stop here and only spoke a few words with Mu Xinxin. We couldn't see him clearly because he was too far away. Zhang Xiaodao snorted. He actually went to the third patch of grass. How arrogant. I stayed here for 5 days before. He then leaped towards the third patch of grass. Soon he arrived at the third patch of grass. Where's Xianxia? The people on the third patch of grass were startled by Zhang Xiaodao and were about to scold him, but when they saw him they all stood up and bowed. Senior brother Jiang. Greetings, senior brother Jiang. Greetings, senior brother Jiang. Zhang Xiaodao's gaze swept across the crowd and finally landed on a corner where Lu Yin was sitting. He walked over and looked down at Lu Yin. You must be Xianxia. Lu Yin opened his eyes and looked at him. Yes. Zhang Xiaodao clasped his hands behind his back. I'm Zhang Xiaodao. Have you heard of me? Never heard of it, Lu Yin answered indifferently. Zhang Xiaodao flipped his hair. My father is the reincarnation era's Zhang Sheng. I'm the future Zhang Sheng, the current quasi-saint. Do you understand now? Lu Yin grunted. Yes. I heard that you created a miracle in the Void God Academy and surpassed Shao Qingfeng. Who's Shao Qingfeng? Zhang Xiaodao flipped his hair again. A guy who looks like he deserves a beating. He's dressed in gold and acts all noble. I don't know him. I don't need you to know him. Just tell me if you surpassed him, Zhang Xiaodao said impatiently. I don't know, Lu Yin replied. Zhang Xiaodao's eyes widened. No one told you? Well, Senior Su Xiangyin didn't tell you either. You can ask him, Lu Yin said casually. In the distance the crowd retreated. This Xianxia was really arrogant. He was completely ignoring Zhang Xiaodao. Zhang Xiaodao could tell, kid, you're pretty arrogant. You deserve a beating just like Shao Qingfeng. Don't you know that the Six Paths training grounds don't prohibit fighting and death? Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you have Senior Su Xiangyin's protection. Behind me is Jiang Xing, the 3 sovereigns, the 9 sages and the exalted celestial. Lu Yin closed his eyes and continued looking for cards. Zhang Xiaodao was furious. You're ignoring me? Kid, get up. I'll beat you up and show you who's the boss of the Lost Dao Academy. Get up. Don't think that you can ignore me just because you have some achievements. Even Su Xiangyin wouldn't dare to do this to me. Get up. The crowd retreated once more. Xianxia was in trouble and no one could help him. Mu Xinxin watched curiously. She knew that Zhang Xiaodao was a scoundrel and difficult to deal with. What was this Xianxia thinking? He really dared to offend this quasi-saint. Lu Yin's eyes widened and he stood up. Zhang Xiaodao shouted, make your move. I'll let you make one move first. Lu Yin made his move, tearing the void apart and grabbing something from the void. He grabbed a card. Zhang Xiaodao blinked. Punchin. Everyone behind him was stunned. Punchin. Wait, how long had it been since he punched in? Mu Xinxin was stunned. She hadn't even started looking but Xianxia had already gotten a card? How could he be so fast? The third patch of grass was silent. Zhang Xiaodao stared blankly at the card in Lu Yin's hand. It had taken him more than a month to punch in the third patch of grass, but this guy? Lu Yin touched the card in his hand. It was the same as the one he had gotten from the first 2 patches of grass. He let go of the card and it disappeared into the void. The first patch of grass eliminated those who couldn't cultivate the Lost Clan's civilization. The second patch of grass allowed people to unconsciously determine the approximate location of the card hidden in the void. The third patch of grass allowed people to truly search for the card. Each patch of grass had its own purpose. If Lu Yin had been searching in the third patch of grass from the beginning, he would have spent more time to find the card. It was mainly because the second patch of grass had guided him through the void. In that case, once the Lost Clan's card was activated, would it be hidden in the void? If it was, then it would be too easy to find it. However, Lu Yin felt that this shouldn't be the case. The Lost Clan wasn't stupid enough to reveal their trump card. Hey, you're still here, Lu Yin said as he looked at Jiang Xiaodao. Jiang Xiaodao's expression kept changing. He was angry, shocked, and in disbelief. He couldn't figure out how the guy in front of him did it. He actually found the card so quickly. Took him more than a month. Even Xiao Qingfeng spent half a month. Wait, not only had this guy surpassed him, but he had also surpassed Xiao Qingfeng. He had also created a miracle in the Lost Dao Academy. Jiang Xiaodao was about to say something when the void beside him distorted and a figure walked out. It was a shriveled old man who looked at Lu Yin in surprise. He casually pushed Jiang Xiaodao aside and said, "Don't block the way." Jiang Xiaodao was furious, but when he saw the shriveled old man, his mouth twitched. He snorted and took a few steps back, clearly a little afraid. "Kid, how did you find the card?" The shriveled old man was Zhibing. He had been entrusted by Su Xiangyin to help see if Lu Yin had any chance of entering the Lost Clan's civilization. If it wasn't possible, then Lu Yin should leave as soon as possible to avoid wasting time. Lu Yin instantly found the card in the first patch of grass. He wasn't surprised, as many people could do it, including Jiang Xiaodao. Lu Yin instantly found the card in the second patch of grass. He was surprised, but there were also people who could do it, so it wasn't a miracle. However, Lu Yin also instantly found the card in the third patch of grass. This didn't allow him to remain calm, as this was a miracle. Even a native of the Lost Clan might not be able to find the card so quickly, let alone these people. This required a certain level of understanding of the void, and it was almost instinctive. Lu Yin wasn't just a simple genius. Lu Yin couldn't help but walk out. Lu Yin was very clear that someone had been watching him ever since he had arrived at the Lost Dao Academy. It seemed like this shriveled old man was the same level as Su Xiangyin. Junior Xianxia greets senior. Lu Yin respectfully bowed in a sincere manner. Zhibing nodded and asked, "Kid, how did you find the card?" Zhibing asked. Jiang Xiaodao looked on curiously from the side, and the group behind them unconsciously approached and watched with even greater curiosity. "I saw the card flying around randomly," Lu Yin said. Everyone was speechless. Zhibing was astonished. "You saw the card flying around randomly?" Lu Yin nodded. Chapter 25-28. Zhibing raised his hand and his fingertips slowly disappeared into the void. "Do you know where my finger is?" Jiang Xiaodao's eyes widened, but he couldn't see it. The others naturally couldn't see it either. Lu Yin pointed at Zhibing's head. "He's scratching his head." Everyone looked over. Zhibing's arm slowly reappeared and his finger was on his head. He was indeed scratching his head. The arm then disappeared again. "What about now?" Lu Yin's eyes flashed and he hid it even more deeply. If his domain hadn't reached the Void God realm, he wouldn't have been able to sense it. However, he couldn't use his domain either, so he could only roughly sense it. "It should be on that guy's head." Lu Yin pointed at Jiang Xiaodao. Jiang Xiaodao was annoyed. "That guy. I'm here." "Ah, not bad. Keep looking," Zhibing said. Jiang Xiaodao's mouth fell open and he subconsciously touched his head. He immediately moved even further away from Zhibing. Lu Yin was helpless. "I can't feel it." Zhibing's arm recovered and he looked at Lu Yin. "If you can feel it, then it's not a problem with your innate gift. There's something wrong with you." Lu Yin didn't understand. "I don't understand what you mean." Zhibing waved a hand. "Nothing. I was just asked by Void to see if you could enter the Lost Race's civilization. It seems like you're very suitable. Work hard, kid." With that, he vanished. Lu Yin bowed. "Farewell, senior." In the distance, the crowd was shocked. This guy had actually lured senior Zhibing out, and he'd spent less time here than anyone else. He was definitely a genius. What had they heard? Since Void had asked him to come here, it meant that one of the elders of the Six Paths training rites was constantly watching him. This person's future achievements would definitely be extraordinary. Jiang Xiaodao approached Lu Yin and circled him. Lu Yin walked away. "Hey kid, you wanna leave? Do you think I've forgotten about your disrespect?" Jiang Xiaodao blocked Lu Yin's path. Lu Yin was calm. "What do you want?" Jiang Xiaodao wanted to beat Lu Yin up, but then he thought about Zhibing's attitude. That old bastard might still be watching him and he didn't know what to do. Lu Yin didn't say anything else and left the third patch of grass. He was about to begin the second step of the Lost Dao Academy, which was to find a card. Anyone who entered the Lost Dao College would be able to find their cards. After finding their own cards, they would be able to set up a trap inside. That was the Lost Dao College's way of fighting. Lu Yin wanted to find the card and then he would look for Saruzin. He wanted to see what the man had experienced and why he was here. He also wanted to know why Mumu was paying attention to him. Senior brother Jiang, he left. Someone reminded him. Gone? Xianxia, stop. Jiang Xiaodao chased after him. On the third patch of grass, everyone looked at each other and remained silent. It was obvious that they had been dealt a heavy blow. This was especially true for Xian. She had finally made it to the third patch of grass from the second patch of grass with great difficulty. Her good mood was immediately doused with cold water. News of what happened here quickly spread. On the other side, Su Xiangyin found Ji Bing. How is it? Is it possible for Xianxia to join the sect? Ji Bing looked at Su Xiangyin with a strange expression. Not bad, old friend. You've unearthed a genius. Su Xiangyin was confused. What do you mean? Ji Bing recounted what had happened and his tone was full of admiration. 3 grasslands, not including the walking time, adding up to less than half an hour, and he has successfully punched in. Even in the inner circle of the Lost Clan, this result is top-notch, equivalent to Su Ji. Your Void God Civilization's results are the same. Su Xiangyin was shocked. That kid's talent is that good? Ji Bing replied, some people are just like that. Their talent is so good that it drives people crazy. Su Ji's performance in the Wood Dao Academy and the Transdimensional Dao Academy also surpassed ordinary people. Xiao Qingfeng and He Shu are all top geniuses and this Xianxia is the same. He won't be lacking in any aspect of his cultivation. Su Xiangyin stared at Ji Bing vigilantly. Old man, you're not thinking of snatching him away, are you? Ji Bing smiled. Do I need to? Of course not, a voice answered. This person was the one who had brought Lu Yin and the others from the Transdimensional Dao Academy to the Lost Dao Academy. He was called Yu Ting and like Su Xiangyin and Ji Bing, he was the Transdimensional Dao Academy's representative in the Transdimensional Dao Academy. Yu Ting arrived and faced Ji Bing. I heard about it. Is it true? Ji Bing nodded. Yes, the news spread quickly. It even reached you. Yu Ting clasped his hands behind his back. He's from the Transdimensional Dao Academy after all. Not anymore, Su Xiangyin interjected. Yu Ting did not mind. The Lost Clan is xenophobic. Unless this Xianxia shows an incomprehensible talent, they won't try to snatch him away. Am I right, Senior Ji Bing? Ji Bing smiled. It's not that they're xenophobic. It's just that our Lost Clan's cultivation is too complicated, and even the geniuses from the outer realms find it difficult to accept. Su Xiangyin said, that's good. Anyway, no one can snatch Xianxia from us. This kid's talent in the Void God Civilization is too high. It's a pity that he wasn't born in the Void God space-time. Otherwise he would definitely be at the top of the world. Yu Ting sighed. I never thought that there would be such a genius in the second batch of people who came to the Transdimensional Dao Academy. News of the Transdimensional Dao Academy spread quickly. After all, there were less than 10,000 people in the Transdimensional Dao Academy. Aside from those who were deep in cultivation, everyone else knew about this. Xianxi's reputation had reached the same level as He Shu, Xiao Qingfeng and the others. Jiang Xiaodao put down the cloud vision stone. Mu had contacted him and ridiculed him, causing his expression to turn ugly. Everyone had said that he had failed to cause trouble for Xianxia and had been slapped in the face. Ji Bing had also ignored him, causing him to lose face. No, he had to regain his face. The Lost Dao Academy had 3 grasslands, and the search area could be found anywhere within the Lost Dao Academy, just like how there were many items in the sky above the Void God Academy. Jadestone had also recommended that the search area be a quiet place. Otherwise, it would be bad if someone found a good card and coveted it. Lu Yin had cultivated for a long time, so he understood this principle. However, he didn't care about this. He just wanted to find Saruzin and get close to him once he found the card. Xianxia, stop right there. Jiang Xiaodao chased after him. Lu Yin stopped and looked over. Jiang Xiaodao leaped in front of him. I want to compete with you. Lu Yin was confused. Compete with me? Compete with what? Jiang Xiaodao raised his head. Search. Lu Yin laughed. Why should I compete with you? Why don't you compete with me? Jiang Xiaodao glared at Lu Yin. Aren't you a genius? Didn't you surpass everyone? Then compete with me. Lu Yin was speechless. I didn't say that. But you did. Jiang Xiaodao's expression was cold. Don't think that you can find a good card just because you're fast. I want to compete with you. If you lose you'll have to follow me. What if I win? Lu Ying asked. Zhang Xiaodao was the successor of one of the 9 sages of the reincarnation spacetime, so he had some value. Unraveling the reincarnation spacetime. Zhang Xiaodao sneered. When? You really think you can beat me? Yes, Lu Ying said. He had never searched for a card before, but since it was a competition he could at least prevent Zhang Xiaodao from finding a card. Zhang Xiaodao gritted his teeth. You're crazy. Fine, if you win I'll make a detour around you whenever I see you in the 6 direction training grounds. Lu Ying rolled his eyes. What does that have to do with me? I don't get anything out of it. What do you want? Lu Ying thought about it. How about this? If you lose, tell me about the Grand Empyrean. Grand Empyrean? Zhang Xiaodao's voice softened. Grand Empyreans were supreme existences in the reincarnation spacetime. Lu Ying said, the Grand Empyrean of the reincarnation spacetime should be the strongest human. I'm curious about what kind of person a Grand Empyrean is. As the son of Sage Jiang, you should have some understanding of them. Zhang Xiaodao's gaze turned solemn as he said in a low voice. Of course the Grand Empyreans are peerless powerhouses that we all revere. Fine, if I lose I'll tell you everything I know about them. Lu Ying smiled. Deal. Let's begin. Wait. Zhang Xiaodao flicked his hair and looked at Lu Ying with disdain. How can we begin now? This is a very important competition. He then used the Cloud Stone to contact someone. Gather everyone in the Lost Dao Academy. I want to compete with Xianxia in card searching. Lu Ying was confused. You want everyone to see? Zhang Xiaodao was pleased. But scared. I want everyone to know that I, Zhang Xiaodao, am not someone you can compare to. Let me tell you, it's too late to back out now. Word has already spread, and once you back out, you won't be able to raise your head for the rest of your life. The Void God spacetime will look down on you. It's not as serious as you make it sound, but don't worry, I don't plan on backing out. Zhang Xiaodao's lips curled up. Good. Soon the news of Zhang Xiaodao and Xianxi's card-searching competition spread throughout the Lost Dao College. Many people rushed over. Some were interested in the competition, while others were interested in the card-searching competition. Everyone in the Lost Dao College gathered there. Mudo had arrived as well, and he shook his head when he saw Lu Ying standing with Zhang Xiaodao in the distance. This kid was too arrogant, actually daring to compete with Zhang Xiaodao. Zhang Xiaodao's strength aside, he was someone who had already searched through the cards, and someone who had not done so would definitely lose to someone who had searched through the cards. Mu Xinxin and the rest also arrived and watched in silence. More and more people gathered, and Lu Ying realized that there were many people in the Lost Dao Academy as well. More than 1,000 people from the hyperspace dimension had come at once, and people from other spacetimes had also arrived. That was why the Lost Dao Academy had so many people. However, compared to the other academies, there were still too few people. After all, it was too difficult to enter the Lost Dao Academy, and only 4 people from the first batch had entered. Little Sister Xiaoyan? Little Sister Xiaoyan, you're here too. Look over here. Zhang Xiaodao suddenly became excited and waved in a certain direction. Many people in that direction felt awkward and the men retreated. Among them there was a girl who was petite and cute. Her face was rosy, making people have the urge to pinch her. She looked like the little sister next door. Brother Xiaodao, I'll leave if you continue like this. The girl lowered her head in embarrassment. Zhang Xiaodao quickly put down his hand and flashed what he thought was his kindest and most charming smile. Little Sister Xiaoyan, don't go. Watch how Brother Xiaodao teaches Madman a lesson. He pointed at Lu Ying. Look, this is Madman. Brother Xiaodao is going to teach him a lesson. Lu Ying wanted to slap him. Chapter 25-29. The girl called Xiaoyan looked up at Lu Ying and smiled bashfully. She then looked at Zhang Xiaodao and glared at him. I don't look like a bad guy. You can't bully me. Zhang Xiaodao quickly said, he's called Xianxia and he's a maniac. He says he's more talented than everyone else. Not only did he surpass Shao Qingfeng, he even wants to surpass me. Watch, I'll teach him a lesson. He then turned to Lu Ying. Come on, Xianxia. Let's fight it out. Lu Ying pursed his lips. Can we begin? Zhang Xiaodao was curious. You know a lot about the Lost Dao Academy? Why do you ask? Lu Ying didn't understand. Zhang Xiaodao was curious. Do you know how many cards can be found in the Lost Dao Academy and how valuable they are? How many of them are ordinary? What are their stars? Do you know? I don't, Lu Ying replied. He really didn't know. Since you don't know and don't even have a witness, how dare you start? Even if you get a good card, can you recognize it? Zhang Xiaodao mocked. Lu Yin remained silent. He didn't plan to recognize the cards at all. As long as Zhang Xiaodao couldn't get the cards, he would win. Or he could just snatch Zhang Xiaodao's cards. The only problem was that he would have to reveal a little bit of his cultivation. His power level in hyperspace was 270,000, and Zhang Xiaodao had the power of an emissary. He would have to reveal something if he wanted to defeat Zhang Xiaodao, and he had been thinking about what he should reveal. As for defeating Zhang Xiaodao fair and square, he didn't even think about it. Zhang Xiaodao had been in the Lost Dao Academy for a long time, and he knew better than anyone which cards were valuable and which ones needed to be found. I've already found a witness and I won't bully you. I'll beat you fair and square and then beat Xiao Qingfeng, Zhang Xiaodao declared. Someone in the distance muttered, "What does beating Xianxia have to do with beating Xiao Qingfeng?" Zhang Xiaodao turned around angrily. Who? Who dares to question me? Quiet down, brother Xiaodao. Xiaoyan rolled her eyes and glared at Zhang Xiaodao. Zhang Xiaodao's expression changed and he smiled. Don't be angry, Xiaoyan. I'll be quiet. Lu Yin rubbed his head. It was really embarrassing to compare himself to this guy. For hours later, Lu Yin frowned. The witness you invited hasn't arrived yet? Zhang Xiaodao stared at him. What's the hurry? I've never seen anyone in a hurry to lose. Just wait, it'll be over soon. Lu Yin looked around and saw Saruzin. He had come as well. Saruzin was looking at Lu Yin with a strange expression. This person looked familiar. Lu Yin retracted his gaze. Now was not the right time to reunite with Saruzin, and he had never intended to do so anyway. After all, so much time had passed and who knew if Saruzin would betray him? Even if he couldn't do so at his current level. Another hour passed and the onlookers couldn't wait any longer. Finally, a man arrived. He wasn't very tall and he was quite thin. He looked listless and his face was pale as if he had been injured. I'm sorry for making you wait, said the man. It's Yi Shao. I didn't expect Brother Zhang to invite him. Shouldn't Yi Shao be in the Reincarnation Dao Academy? Why are you here? Some rules don't apply to them. He must have passed through Cliff Town. No wonder he waited for so long. Lu Yin looked at the newcomer. Yi Shao. His name was very similar to Ji Bing's. He must be from the Lost Clan. Zhang Xiaodao rolled his eyes. What took you so long? Ji Shao was helpless. Do you think it's easy to pass through the academy? All right, since you're here, introduce yourself to that guy. Otherwise he'll say I'm bullying him. Zhang Xiaodao waved his hand. Ji Shao looked at Lu Yin. Lu Yin looked back at him. You're Xianxia? You've become quite famous in the Six Paths recently, Ji Shao said with a pale smile. Lu Yin smiled. You're from the Lost Clan? Lost Clan, Ji Shao. This is the first time I've met you, but I've heard a lot about you. All right, cut the crap. My little sister Xiaoyan is still waiting to teach him a lesson, Zhang Xiaodao urged. In the distance, Xiaoyan spat and glared at Zhang Xiaodao again. Ji Shao shook his head and said to Lu Yin, the Lost Clan's cards are divided into seasonal cards, ancient cards, primeval cards and primeval cards. You should know this from the Jade. Each card is divided into 7 stars, with 1 star being the lowest and 7 stars being the highest. It represents the card's quality. It's easy to identify the star level as it's left behind when the cards were made. You don't need to know this, it's a method unique to the Lost Clan. You should know that there are a total of 135 cards in the Lost Dao Academy. 120 of them are seasonal cards and 15 are ancient cards, ranging from 1 star to 7 stars. You'll compete to find the cards and I'll determine which one is better. Don't worry, although I'm familiar with Zhang Xiaodao, I won't be biased towards him. Zhang Xiaodao was unhappy. Zhang Xiaodao need anyone to be biased? Beating him is child's play. Ji Shao looked at Lu Yin. Any other questions? Lu Yin replied, that's all. Thanks. Ji Shao nodded and retreated. Gentlemen, you may begin. Zhang Xiaodao looked at Lu Yin with a smug smile. Kid, let me remind you that the key to finding a card is to identify the star level. Of course, it's not that simple and it's rather difficult to do so in the void without holding the card in your hand. Don't think that you can see it clearly. There are only 1 or 2 people in the entire 6 paths who can compete with me. It's over. Zhang Xiaodao's eyes widened as he looked up into the void. A gentle power spread out, similar to the one Lu Yin had felt during his battle with Mu Mu. He was using his own strength to find a card. Everyone held their breaths as they watched the scene unfold. The outcome of the competition had already been decided. No matter how talented Xianxia was, he would not be able to defeat Jiang Xiaodao. They were mainly trying to learn from Jiang Xiaodao's method of finding cards. Everyone had their own way of exploring the void, and although it was impossible to copy everything, it could still give them inspiration. Lu Yin also began, but he did not release his domain or astral source. Instead, he released his void god's force. To him, both astral source and void god's force were the same. More importantly, his grasp of space was far superior to Jiang Xiaodao's. Plan. Reversal move had improved his understanding of space, and reversal move had even allowed him to interact with time. Was it difficult to see the star level on a card? Lu Yin believed that it would be difficult, but that was only true for others. He had originally thought that he would not be able to find a card better than Jiang Xiaodao, but he had not expected it to be so simple. He only needed to find a few stars and the competition would be over. Soon Jiang Xiaodao found a card and looked at it. Zhishao raised a brow. Not bad, it's an ancient card. Jiang Xiaodao threw it away and the card disappeared into the void. It's just a 1 star, I don't want it. Zhishao frowned. Please show some respect to this card. If you want to learn from the Lost Tribe's civilization, you have to respect our beliefs. These cards are our beliefs. Jiang Xiaodao pursed his lips. Alright, sorry. He continued searching. Not long after, he found another card. A 2-star ancient card, Zhishao said. Jiang Xiaodao shook his head. He still did not want it, but he did not throw it away. Instead, he opened his hand and the card disappeared into the void as he continued searching. Jiang Xiaodao continued to find cards after that. There were ancient cards and token cards, but he was not satisfied with any of them. On the other hand, Lu Yin did not find a single card. Gradually, no one paid any attention to him. Mu Xinxin looked at him. This guy looks very serious. He's acting like he can see the star level on the card. Even Zhishao might not be able to see it, let alone him. Mu Xinxin thought about it and agreed. Not long after, Jiang Xiaodao cheered. Ha, I found it. He pulled out a card from the void. Zhishao looked over and his eyes lit up. A 5-star ancient card, not bad. The crowd was in an uproar. It's actually a 5-star ancient card. There are 15 ancient cards and there are 3 cards from 1 star to 4 star. Then there is 1 card from 5 star to 7 star. The card that Brother Jiang found last time was a 4-star card, right? I didn't expect that he would find a 5-star ancient card this time. Senior Jiang got a blessing in disguise. His 4 stars card was burned during his battle with Mu Mu, so he got a 5-star card instead. Jiang Xiaodao was pleased. There was only 1 5-star ancient card in the entire Lost Dao Academy. Only 6 stars and 7 stars cards could surpass him, but those 2 cards were even harder to find. He had almost gone blind, but he had only found a single 5-star card. He had reached his limit and he could not help but look at Lu Yin. You still haven't found a card? Zhishao came to Jiang Xiaodao's side and looked at the card in his hand. He praised, it's not bad at all. It's even better than the one you had before. If you use this card against Mu Mu, Jiang Xiaodao thought that Lu Yin would say that it would not be burned. It can last longer, Zhishao said. Jiang Xiaodao rolled his eyes. You mean it can still be burned? Zhishao replied, of course. Mu Mu isn't weak and she's using a wood-type golden crow. If you want to use a card, you'll need at least a 7-star card. If you have the ability to use an ancient card or something close to it, then a 1-star card will be enough to deal with Mu Mu. Jiang Xiaodao was speechless. Why would I use a card if I'm that strong? I could kill her with a single finger. Zhishao agreed. That's true. You're strong enough to use an ancient card, but you can't use an ancient card. You'll need to train for another 1,000 years to reach that level. Not necessarily. A white energy source is enough. Jiang Xiaodao's eyes lit up. Zhishao nodded. That's one way. He still hadn't found a card. Jiang Xiaodao was displeased. I forgot to mention that if this guy keeps looking for a card, are we going to keep waiting? Zhishao added, it's your fault for not setting a time limit. Jiang Xiaodao wanted to urge him, but he was stopped by Zhishao. He could not disturb others from searching for cards. Before the competition, he had planned to make sure that Jiang Xiaodao wouldn't be able to find a card. But ever since he found out that a card could be identified by its star level, he had stopped doing so. He had to spend time explaining his strength so he could win fair and square. However, these cards were flying around the Lost Dao Academy and he was fixed in place. It would take some time for him to find a 7-star card, so he had to wait for the card to fly over. Chapter 25-30. The onlookers grew impatient as no one had the time to waste here. Many people were not confident that they would be able to enter the sect within a year, so time was precious. Someone had already left and the result was already set. No matter how talented Xianxia was, could he find an ancient card with 6 stars? It was already good enough that he could find one. What a waste of time. No, he's just stalling for time. This Xianxia has been praised to the heavens in the Void God Academy, and he was even praised by Senior Zhi Bing at the 3rd patch of grass. He's already overestimated himself and he must know that he's going to lose. He's just stalling for time until we can't wait any longer and leave. Yeah, why didn't I think of that? This guy is really sinister. I'll definitely stay until the end. Yeah, let him stall for time. Let's see how long he can last. Brothers, let's wait for you. Zhang Xiaodao heard the discussions around him and he seemed to have thought it through. He sneered, I won't rush you. Let's see how long you can stall for time. This kid definitely wants me to rush him so that he can accuse me of interrupting his search and have the competition annulled. Too sinister. Jishao was shocked. Is that so? That makes sense. The people who had left earlier came back again. They all thought that Lu Yin was deliberately stalling for time, so they decided to wait and see how long he could stall for time. Zhi Bing said from even further away, this competition will be a blow to him. Su Xiangyin replied, it's just a small blow. Those brats were right. I praised him to the heavens in the Void God Academy, and he even lured a village down here and created a miracle. He's been blindly arrogant for a long time and this blow will wake him up. Aren't you afraid that his confidence will be shaken? Humph, if he can't even handle this small blow, how can he shoulder the heavy responsibility of fighting the everlasting? How can he fight on the battlefield? Talent is one thing but temperament is sometimes more important. Zhi Bing watched on. I don't think he's stalling for time. Su Xiangyin frowned as he felt the same way. He's using Void God's power to search for cards. He's the 3rd person besides Su Ji and Su Yu to do so. It's a pity that Su Ji and Su Yu didn't find any good cards. A card isn't good or bad, it's just a person. Zhi Bing was displeased. Su Xiangyin rolled his eyes. Alright. I didn't mean to insult the card. Su. On the other side, Lu Yin suddenly made a move. He leapt up and pulled out a card from the void, slowly landing on the ground. Zhang Xiaodao's eyes widened. What a handsome posture. Damn it. If he had known earlier he would have used this posture to draw cards as well. How handsome. He subconsciously glanced at Xiaoyan, who was looking at Lu Yin with sparkling eyes, making him jealous. Jishao, quick, look at what card that brat is holding. What's the use of pretending to be handsome? What's the use of that? A man has to look inside, Zhang Xiaodao mocked. Lu Yin was surprised. Other than the time he had disguised himself as Yu Hao, this was the first time he had received such praise. Thank you. Zhang Xiaodao gritted his teeth. I'm not praising you. Jishao looked at the card in his hand and his eyes grew cold. He quickly reached out to take it and read it over and over again. Zhang Xiaodao was getting impatient. Jishao quickly announced the results. The surrounding people heaved a sigh of relief. Luckily it didn't take too long. They thought that Xianxia would shamelessly drag it out for a few days. Jishao looked up at Lu Yin, his gaze deep and his pale face darkening. How did you find it? Lu Yin casually answered, luck. Jishao frowned. You're insulting my intelligence. What's going on? Jishao quickly announced the results. Zhang Xiaodao was getting impatient. He noticed that Xiaoyan's gaze was getting brighter and brighter. Jishao looked at Zhang Xiaodao. You've lost this match. Zhang Xiaodao was pleased. See, I told you he lost. He's arrogant and doesn't know what he's talking about. Little sister Xiaoyan, look, brother Xiaodao is teaching madman a lesson. Suddenly he paused and looked at Jishao. What did you say? Who lost? Jishao raised the card that Lu Yin had found. Hidden Mountain. Zhang Xiaodao's eyes narrowed. Hidden Mountain? Many people were shocked. Hidden Mountain? A card with a name on it is a 7-star card. Impossible, how can a newbie find a 7-star card? Brother Jiang stayed in the Lost Dao Academy to find a 7-star card. That brat just arrived, how could he have found it? Definitely not. Jiang Xiaodao rushed in front of Zhi Xiao and snatched the card. He studied it carefully for a while before looking up at Lu Yin in disbelief. How did you find it? Lu Yin shrugged. I told you luck. Do you think I'm an idiot? How can I find a 7-star card with luck? Jiang Xiaodao roared. He could have left the Lost Dao Academy long ago, but he had stayed because of this 7-star card. Regardless of grade, only 7-star cards could leave their names on the Lost Dao Academy's cards. This 7-star card was called Hidden Mountain, and it was the reason why he had stayed. He knew very well how difficult it was to obtain a 7-star card. Even his father had told him to try his best to find a 7-star card. For this card he had endured Su Ji He Shu and Xiao Qingfeng. Now this guy had actually obtained it. You must have been sent by my father to trick me, Jiang Xiaodao cried out. In the distance Xi Bing's expression turned serious. He took a step forward and appeared beside Lu Yin, snatching the card from Jiang Xiaodao's hand. He looked at Lu Yin and sized him up. You. He wanted to ask how Lu Yin had done it, but 2 others had already done so. Su Xiangyin also appeared and looked at Lu Yin in surprise. Lu Yin quickly bowed. Greetings, seniors. Xi Bing wanted to say something, but he didn't in the end. He patted Lu Yin's shoulder. You're a genius. He then placed the card in Lu Yin's hand and left. Su Xiangyin wanted to say something as well, but he suddenly thought of something. His expression changed and he immediately disappeared without a word. The crowd stared blankly at this scene. The appearance of a 7-star card meant that the victor had been decided. Xianxia, your innate gift is #1 among the extraterrestrial civilizations, Zhi Xiao exclaimed. Xiaoyan came over and looked at the card in Lu Yin's hand curiously. Can I see it? Lu Yin smiled and handed it over. Xiaoyan took it and was surprised. This is the 7-star Hidden Mountain card. I've heard legends about it since the first day I entered the Lost Dao Academy. Seems very powerful, and I heard that it has a Hidden Mountain card inside. Is that true? Lu Yin was astonished. It came with its own? Zhi Xiao replied, that's right. Every 7-star card has its own unique power. This Hidden Mountain card can suppress an enemy with the Hidden Mountain card. Depending on the user's cultivation, the Hidden Mountain card can be strong or weak. This doesn't affect the user's ability to set up a killing trap inside the card. The crowd gasped and looked on enviously. I don't accept this. Jiang Xiaodao suddenly roared, glaring at Lu Yin. How could you find the Hidden Mountain card on your first try? Impossible. Xiaoyan frowned. Brother Xiaodao, a loss is a loss. Just admit defeat. Jiang Xiaodao clenched his teeth and stared at Lu Yin. Let's compete again. Lu Yin raised a brow. Compete with the Hidden Mountain card? Zhi Xiao shouted, nonsense. Everyone in the Lost Dao Academy can only have 1 card in their lifetime unless that card is damaged. Jiang Xiaodao, you've already found a 5-star card and you can't change it without a special reason. You can't search for another one. This is the rule. Jiang Xiaodao shouted, no, I want to fight you. Everyone was shocked. Lu Yin was surprised. Fight. Jiang Xiaodao clenched his fists. I can't lose to you. Let's fight. Like you and Mu Mu? Lu Yin asked. Jiang Xiaodao looked up. You don't dare? Lu Yin laughed. My cultivation isn't as high as yours. Wouldn't I be courting death if I fought you? Jiang Xiaodao sneered. Are you afraid of death? Fine, as long as you admit that I'm stronger than you, I won't force you. Brother Xiaodao, you're despicable. Xiaoyan rebuked. Jiang Xiaodao's face fell. Sister Xiaoyan. He didn't know how to explain himself, so he could only glare at Lu Yin. Lu Yin met his gaze. If you want to fight, sure. Everyone looked at Lu Yin as if he was an idiot. He actually wanted to fight Jiang Xiaodao. They could feel that Lu Yin's cultivation was much lower than Jiang Xiaodao's. In the 5th mainland, one was an enlighter and the other was an emissary. How could they compare? This was how the people around them felt. You don't have to fight. He won't do anything to you, Zhi Xiao said. Lu Yin's talent had already won his respect. Xiaoyan added, that's right, brother. Don't bother with Brother Xiaodao. He's not a bad person, but he doesn't like to admit defeat. Jiang Xiaodao snorted, but he didn't refute them. He regretted suggesting a duel. If he won, it would be embarrassing, and if he lost, it would be even more embarrassing. Lu Yin smiled. Thank you for your reminder, but since he suggested it, I'll take it as a lesson. I won't be embarrassed if I lose anyway. Zhang Xiaodao glanced at Lu Yin. You actually dared to come? Fine, I'll teach you a lesson. Lu Yin replied, we can fight, but there has to be a prize. Zhang Xiaodao sneered. You really think you can beat me? That's what you said before the card search competition, Lu Yin said. Hearing that, Zhang Xiaodao got angry again. Fine, what do you want? If I win, you'll call me Brother Dao and follow me from now on. Xiaoyan was unhappy. Brother Xiaodao, you should win. It's not fair. Zhang Xiaodao grimaced. Sister Xiaoyan, why are you helping an outsider? Big Brother Xiaodao is your childhood sweetheart. Xiaoyan glared at him. Anyway, it's not fair. It's too unfair to Brother Xianxia. You're not allowed to ask for a prize. She then turned to Lu Yin and smiled. Brother Xianxia, what prize do you want? I'll be your witness. Zhang Xiaodao's jaw dropped. He felt like his cabbage had been taken away by someone else, and he looked at Lu Yin with even more displeasure. Lu Yin laughed. Thank you, Sister Xiaoyan. Xiaoyan smiled happily. Zhang Xiaodao gritted his teeth. Xianxia, you're not allowed to call me that. Lu Yin rolled his eyes and said, the prize is the copybook you bought from the secret auction. The copybook was one of the reasons why he had talked so much with Zhang Xiaodao. He wanted to get it, and the price for the card-searching competition wasn't enough. This time it was just right. Zhang Xiaodao was puzzled. Copybook? What copybook? Suddenly he remembered. Right, I bought a copybook too. No wonder I lost my money. Moo, that stupid woman. Chapter 25:31. What do you think? I'll fight you if you give me your copybook as the prize, Lu Yin said. Zhang Xiaodao thought about it. Normally he would definitely win, but he was still traumatized by his loss. He wasn't stupid, and he knew that there was definitely something wrong with Lu Yin's agreement. It's settled then. Brother Xiaodao, give me your copybook. Little Lian stretched out her hand and raised her brows at Zhang Xiaodao. Zhang Xiaodao wanted to cry. Sister Little Lian, why are you helping him? Don't tell me you like him. Little Lian's face flushed red. You're spouting nonsense. I'll ignore you if you keep spouting nonsense. Zhang Xiaodao hurriedly apologized and gave her his copybook. Little Lian smiled at Lu Yin and raised her fist. Brother Xianxia beat him up. Lu Yin couldn't help but laugh. This girl was really cute. Zhang Xiaodao vented all his anger on Lu Yin and stared at him. Come on, Xianxia. Watch how I beat you up. Wait. Lu Yin shouted. Zhang Xiaodao, who was about to attack, suddenly stopped and glared at Lu Yin. What are you trying to do? Lu Yin rubbed his head. Let me think about how to deal with you. Zhang Xiaodao looked like he had heard a joke. What did you say? Ji Shao and the others in the distance were stunned. Think about how to deal with him. What kind of request was that? Little Lian waved her fist. Brother Xianxia, take your time. Brother Xiaodao, don't move. Zhang Xiaodao felt even more bitter. Sister Little Lian, I'm being schemed against. Little Lian glared at him. The difference is huge, so what if I give in to Brother Xianxia? Lu Yin felt that this girl was too cute. In reality, he was waiting for the Void God to come over. He didn't want to reveal his strength but still be able to defeat Zhang Xiaodao, so the only way was to attract the Void God. The Void God was in the Void God Dao Academy and the distance was too far. It would be difficult for him to attract the Void God's power, but his control over it was too abnormal. It was all because he had cultivated the true scripture of Aeon evolution that his ability to control rune lines had been transferred to the Void God's power, causing another Void God tide. This time it wasn't a Void God tide caused by cultivation. He had used a sliver of the Void God's power to cross two major Dao colleges and forcefully move the village. At that moment, at the border between the two Dao colleges, Su Xiangyin caught up to Ji Bing. Old geezer, what are you planning? Ji Bing was puzzled. What idea? What nonsense are you spouting? Su Xiangyin stared at Ji Bing. Are you thinking about Xianxia? Ji Bing nodded. I'm indeed thinking about him. To be honest, it's quite rare for an extraterrestrial cultivator to find a 7-star ancient card on their first search. Even within our lost clan, there are only a few people who can find a 7-star ancient card on their first search, and Ji Shao is one of them. That's not as exaggerated as his talent in the virtual god civilization. Did you know that when he triggered the virtual god tide for the first time, he was able to trigger an entire village in just over 2 months? When he tried to trigger the virtual god tide for the first time, he was able to trigger a virtual god with 20 times the power of a virtual god. How exaggerated is this achievement? That's enough to enter the eyes of the virtual god master. Jibing raised his hand. I know what you mean. Don't worry, Xianxi's talent in our lost clan's Dao is indeed amazing, but it's not enough for me to snatch him from you. He's still part of your void god civilization. Zhou Xian heaved a sigh of relief when he heard Jibing say this. I hope you'll keep your promise. Jibing shook his head. He didn't care about Xianxi's talent. No matter how high Xianxi's talent was, could he surpass the entire lost clan? The lost clan valued the card more than the person. A void god tide? Zhou Xian looked at the void god college in surprise and was overjoyed. Did another genius trigger a void god tide? Jibing was envious. Not bad. Your void god civilization has many geniuses. Congratulations. Zhou Xian hurriedly headed towards the void god college, but he suddenly felt that something was amiss. This wasn't a void god tide, but rather the drifting void god power in the void god college being pulled by some sort of force. Jibing also noticed this. What's going on? Zhou Xian looked up and saw a strand of void god power crossing the sky and connecting the two Dao colleges. Because void god power was too weak, he hadn't paid much attention to it. Now he realized that the void god tide was being pulled by this strand of void god power, and above the void god tide was the village. Zhou Xian immediately thought of this and immediately returned to the Lost Dao College. Jibing's expression was solemn as he returned to the Lost Dao College as well. Soon the two of them arrived at the location where Lu Yin and Jiang Xiaodao were going to compete. At this moment, Jiang Xiaodao was still talking to little Lian with a depressed expression. Lu Yin pretended to be deep in thought, but in reality, the void god power in his body had already crossed over to the Lost Dao College and was pulling the village over. There was no one present who cultivated void god power, so no one had noticed this. Zhou Xian sighed in amazement. This kid's innate gift was indeed ridiculous. He had only cultivated for a short period of time, but he was already able to use such a meager amount of void god power to pull a distant village over. His control over void god power had become even stronger. Although Zhou Xian was shocked, it wasn't too exaggerated. After all, Tai spacetime was too small. Although the 6 Dao colleges covered a large area, an enlighter could still travel quickly if they traveled at full speed. If Lu Yin had used a strand of void god power to traverse the entire Tai spacetime, then Zhou Xian would have been shocked. This was something that only someone at the level of an emissary could accomplish. Although Lu Yin's cultivation of void god power had not reached the level of an emissary, the amount of void god power that he could pull from the village had reached that level. This was also why Zhou Xian had been so shocked when Lu Yin had pulled the village over. In the 5th mainland, this was equivalent to an enlighter defeating an emissary. Jibing looked at the sky. That kid is pulling the void god power? He could already see the village. Zhou Xian nodded. He's powerful, right? He's only been cultivating for less than 3 months. Jibing nodded. Genius. He then looked at Jiang Xiaodao and shook his head. That silly kid is still waiting. If he had acted earlier, then everything would have been over. Now he's in trouble. Zhou Xian laughed strangely. Actually, I've been annoyed with that kid for a long time. He's been causing trouble everywhere, so he should be taught a lesson. Unfortunately, even though that village has dense void god power, it's still difficult to defeat him in one strike. After all, he's Jiang Sheng's son, Jibing said. Zhou Xian did not deny it. He was prepared to save Lu Yin at any moment. How could Jiang Sheng's son be defeated by a sneak attack? He was on the same level as the village's void god power. Jiang Xiaodao finally managed to coax Xiaolian into laughing. He heaved a sigh of relief and looked at Lu Yin. Kid, have you thought it through? Do you still want to fight? Stalling for time is useless. What's that? Someone exclaimed. Everyone looked up and saw a village approaching from the distance. Jiang Xiaodao, Zhishao and the others all looked over. What was that? Zhishao's gaze trembled. Void God. Although he had not studied the Void God civilization, he knew a lot about it, especially since he had heard someone from the Void God Academy talk about this village. Jiang Xiaodao suddenly remembered, and his mouth fell open as he slowly looked at Lu Yin. Lu Yin smiled. Thanks for stalling for time. It's useful. He then raised a hand and pressed down. The village crashed down and the Void God power was the first to descend. It practically sealed off the void, making it difficult for Zhang Xiaodao to escape. Despicable! Zhang Xiaodao shouted angrily. After that he raised both of his arms. Milky Way. As soon as he finished speaking, his palms struck out continuously. It was almost impossible to see his arms. The gentle force turned into a roaring Milky Way from bottom to top and engulfed the village. The village and the sky river clashed in front of everyone's eyes. The void exploded and cracks continuously extended outwards. Everyone continuously retreated. Zhishao pulled Xiaoyan back and retreated. In the distance, Mu Duo was stunned. He had seen void gods like Shi Hong and the others, but compared to Xianxia they were nothing. They were practically toys. Mu Xinxing was shocked. Was this the power of a void god? Countless tremors resounded throughout the lost Dao Academy, and even the air itself trembled. A gentle force accompanied by an invisible void god power swept out in all directions, making it difficult for anyone to withstand. Finally, there was a loud bang as Zhang Xiaodao was pressed into the ground by the village. Brother Xiaodao! Xiaoyan cried out, her face pale. Zhishao stared at the ground and frowned. What a powerful force, even Zhang Xiaodao was suppressed. In the distance, people in twos and threes poked their heads out and looked at the ground in fear. Lu Yin stood beside the crack in the ground. Sorry, the difference is too great. I can only use this move against you. Xiaoyan looked at Lu Yin with dissatisfaction and pursed her lips. She then looked at the ground. Brother Xiaodao, I'm sorry. I told you not to attack. Lu Yin heard her voice and looked over. Don't worry, Xiaoyan. He's fine. Her eyes lit up. He's fine. Lu Yin nodded and smiled. How could I let anything happen to him? You're friends after all. At that moment, a figure rushed out from the ground. His hair was disheveled and he was completely unrecognizable. It was Zhang Xiaodao and he glared at Lu Yin. You're courting death. He raised his hand and struck out with a palm. The water in his palm turned into a river that swept towards Lu Yin. Lu Yin pointed behind Zhang Xiaodao. Be careful. Zhang Xiaodao felt a chill run down his spine. He turned around and saw that a card had appeared behind him at some point. Was that the Hidden Mountain card? The next moment, the Hidden Mountain card dragged Zhang Xiaodao inside. Lu Yin also disappeared at the same time and the river shot into the distance but missed. Everyone looked at the disappearing card. Zhang Xiaodao had been tricked. Lu Yin had used the village as a pretext to set up the Hidden Mountain card and drag Zhang Xiaodao inside. This was a standard battle tactic of the Lost Tribe and Ji Bing's eyes lit up. Not only is his innate gift good, but his battle style is also very compatible with my Lost Tribe. What a pity. If he wasn't from outside, I would have taken him in as a disciple. Su Xiangyin was on guard. Old man, you promised me. Ji Bing replied, don't worry. My Lost Tribe won't steal him from you. It's just a pity. Su Xiangyin heaved a sigh of relief. He realized that ever since Xianxia had entered the Lost Dao Academy, he had been constantly worried that the kid would be stolen away. What about the Hidden Mountain card? Does Xianxia have a chance of winning? Su Xiangyin asked. Ji Bing shook his head. To be honest, only someone at Zhang Xiaodao's level can use an ancient card. It's already amazing that Xianxia was able to find the Hidden Mountain card, but I didn't expect him to be able to use it. I can only say that he's as talented as he was in the Void God civilization. Of course, it's not that there aren't people who can use cards that are of a higher level than them, but it depends on the individual. Zhang Xiaodao isn't strong enough to be defeated by someone who uses cards that are of a higher level than him. The result will be out soon. Chapter 2532. Inside the Hidden Mountain card was a completely different scene. It wasn't like what Jibing had said. Zhang Xiaodao didn't think he could win. Xianxia, you're despicable. A huge mountain pressed down on his head. He struggled to block it with his hands, but another mountain pressed down on him, one after another. Lu Yin looked on in amazement. This was the world inside the card? It was just like the 3,000 Great Worlds, but this card had its own function. With a wave of his hand, a huge mountain appeared out of nowhere and pressed down on Zhang Xiaodao. No wonder it was called the Hidden Mountain card. He was getting more and more interested in the Lost Clan's card. He wondered what the other cards could do. Xianxia, let's fight fair and square if you dare. Zhang Xiaodao roared, glaring at Lu Yin as if he wanted to swallow him whole. Lu Yin's lips curled up. I'm sorry, but the gap between us is too big. I'm not your match in a fair fight. Zhang Xiaodao spat out a mouthful of blood. He looked like he had just walked out of a garbage dump. There was blood at the corner of his mouth and he looked like a mess. Stop pretending. Even if you used the hidden mountain card, you wouldn't be able to suppress me like this. You're definitely not as strong as you seem. Lu Yin smiled. Thanks for the exaggeration. Zhang Xiaodao was so angry that he spat out blood again. Xianxia, let me go. I'll lose if I let you go, Lu Yin said. Zhang Xiaodao's eyes were bloodshot and he couldn't breathe under the pressure. You're despicable, too despicable. I won't let you go. Wait until I become a saint and I'll take my revenge. Lu Yin shook his head. You're thinking too far ahead. Besides, I won't be doing too badly in the Void God spacetime when you become a saint. Zhang Xiaodao thought about Lu Yin's talent in the Void God civilization and felt aggrieved. As long as this guy didn't die, his future achievements wouldn't be any less than his own. Damn it, I can't believe I'm being suppressed like this. I've never been this aggrieved even when I fought Mu Mu or Shao Qingfeng. Xianxia, what do you want? Zhang Xiaodao roared. Lu Yin waved his hand again and another mountain pressed down. Zhang Xiaodao howled and coughed up blood again. I know you don't want to lose. It's too embarrassing. Zhang Xiaodao gritted his teeth. Duh. But you have to give me a reason for losing. Otherwise, why would I let you win? Zhang Xiaodao rolled his eyes. You think you can let me win? Reason, Lu Yin said. Zhang Xiaodao's breathing quickened. What he valued the most was not victory or defeat but face. As the son of Jiangxing, he could not be defeated by this guy. After all, the gap between them was too big. Although there was an element of surprise attack, a defeat was a defeat. Not only would it be a disgrace to him, it would also be a disgrace to Jiangxing. The copybook is yours. That's not enough. If I win, I already have a copy, Lu Yin said. Zhang Xiaodao gritted his teeth. I'll give you more resources. A huge amount of resources. The Void God's spacetime will give it to me. Zhang Xiaodao said a few more things, but they were all rejected by Lu Yin. Then what do you want? Lu Yin arrived in front of Zhang Xiaodao in a single step. They were only a few meters apart, which was nothing to Zhang Xiaodao. If it wasn't for the mountain, Lu Yin was confident that he could kill Zhang Xiaodao in one move. I'm also very troubled. What should I want? Why don't you give me a suggestion? Lu Yin asked. Zhang Xiaodao opened his mouth to say something, but the mountain suppressed him, causing him to cough up blood again. How would I know what you want? Lu Yin said, how about this? Since I'm going to the dojo, I need to learn the power of the four civilizations. I'll use this opportunity to try it out. Help me cultivate the power of the reincarnation spacetime and let me get started in the shortest time possible. Zhang Xiaodao was shocked. That's it? What else? Lu Yin's eyes flashed. Isn't that too simple? Zhang Xiaodao hurriedly said, no, I mean that's it. Outside, everyone looked in the direction where the Zhongshan card had disappeared, waiting for the result of the battle. Soon the card appeared again and two figures appeared from the void. One of them was retreating pathetically with a pale face, while the other was like a peerless expert flying through the void with an extraordinary aura. The one retreating pathetically was Lu Yin, while Zhang Xiaodao stood in the void with his head held high. Everyone could tell who was the winner and who was the loser. Zhang Xiaodao suppressed the blood that he was about to cough up, causing his face to turn even redder. Xianxia, you're not bad. You were able to last for so long under my astral river. Your future will be extraordinary. Lu Yin praised, as expected of the son of Jiangxing, the future Jiangxing. Your astral river battle techniques are profound and profound. I admit defeat. No need to be humble. With your abilities, you're definitely stronger than Shao Qingfeng. Although you're still a bit weaker than me, work hard. Your future is limitless. Thank you for your praise, brother Jiang. You're truly a quasi-sage. You're too polite. You're the genius. I'll need your guidance. Everyone was confused as they listened to the two flattering each other. What was going on? They had clearly just fought to the death, so why were they being so friendly? Brother Xiaodao, you guys. Xiaoyan was confused. Zhang Xiaodao waved a hand. Brother Xianxia and I didn't know each other until we fought. Let's not talk about our small misunderstanding. Right, I suddenly had an inspiration. Brother Xianxia, I'll look for you later. Lu Yin replied, I'll wait for you, brother Jiang. Zhang Xiaodao turned and left with a flushed face. He couldn't hold back the blood in his throat any longer. After Zhang Xiaodao left, Lu Yin praised, As expected of the descendant of a saint. Such magnanimity. I'm impressed. He then looked at Xiaoyan and Zhishao with a smile. I'm sorry for wasting everyone's time. Zhishao was puzzled. Given his understanding of Zhang Xiaodao, how could he have given up so easily? What had happened in Carrie? Xiaoyan was surprised. Brother Xianxia, what happened in there? Brother Xiaodao isn't someone who's so easily friendly. Lu Yin smiled. He's the descendant of a saint after all. Not long after, the crowd dispersed. Lu Yin looked at Saruzin and chased after him. Friend, can we have a chat? Lu Yin asked. Saruzin turned around and looked at Lu Yin. We've met before. Lu Yin nodded. In Cliff Town. Saruzin shook his head. No. Lu Yin replied. We met in Cliff Town and then I met Zhang Xiaodao. Saruzin looked into Lu Yin's eyes. Your eyes are very similar to an old friend of mine. Is that so? That means we're fated. Lu Yin smiled, looking at Saruzin's withered left arm with a strange expression. What's this? Saruzin replied, it's just a manifestation of my obsession. You're looking for me because of this? Lu Yin continued, actually I wanted to ask you about the card game. There are too few people in the Lost Dao Academy who have joined. Last time in Cliff Town, you said you had joined, so you must have been here for quite some time. Saruzin always had a calm expression on his face. He looked much older than the others, like an old man in his 50s. He stood out in the Lost Dao Academy and nobody talked to him. He was rather surprised that Lu Yin had found him. He wasn't good with words, so he could only tell Lu Yin as much as he could without hiding anything. He didn't even ask why Lu Yin hadn't found someone else. Humans were strange creatures. Some changed their personality because of their obsession or faith. Saruzin was a classic example, but he was different from when he was on Earth. Back on Earth he had raised his left arm because of his faith, but now he said it was because of his obsession. The difference was huge. The two found a place to talk without anyone interrupting them. The commotion caused by Lu Yin moving the village from the Void God Academy to the Lost Dao Academy was also suppressed by Zhou Xian. They didn't appear as they couldn't praise Lu Yin every time they appeared. Even Zhou Xian felt that it was wrong. Jibing wanted to praise Lu Yin, but he was stopped by Zhou Xian. Not only was he worried that Lu Yin would become arrogant, but he was also afraid that Jibing wouldn't be able to stop himself from snatching him away. Lu Yin stayed with Saruzin for a few days. Along the way people came looking for him, but they couldn't find him. What's your card? Lu Yin asked curiously. Saruzin raised his hand and a card appeared. It was a 3 stars card. It wasn't good, but it wasn't bad either. It was good enough to be able to join the Lost Dao Academy. Has it been set up? Lu Yin asked. You can go in and take a look, Saruzin replied. Thank you. Most people wouldn't invite people into the card unless they were enemies. After all, it was related to the card holder's layout. Saruzin allowed Lu Yin to take a look because of his personality. As long as it wasn't an enemy, he wouldn't refuse anyone who asked to see the card. Lu Yin was dragged in by the card. What he saw was a lake that stretched as far as the eye could see. It was very calm, like stagnant water, and there weren't any living things inside. He thought that there would be some killing methods that would be suitable for Saruzin, but there was nothing here. There was only a lake. With Saruzin's ability, there was no way to hide anything from him. There really was only a lake here. Saruzin entered. The power of the Lost Dao Academy is very strange, but it doesn't suit me. The only use here is to give me a quiet place to think about life. Think about life. Lu Yin was puzzled. Saruzin nodded. Saruzin's eyes were calm. A person's life is very mysterious. From birth to death, everything you experience, everything you see, and everything you receive seems to have been arranged. I want to see other people's lives. I want to know everyone's lives. You'll go crazy, Lu Yin said subconsciously. Saruzin didn't understand. Why? Lu Yin thought of the crazy director. I'll go crazy if I see too much. Saruzin pondered. Interesting words. Lu Yin smiled. Everyone is different. Maybe you won't. Saruzin looked at Lu Yin again. Madness is also a type of life. Lu Yin had never thought about this before. This topic was a little heavy. Have you ever seen a crazy person? Saruzin asked. Lu Yin replied, too many. You can find an asylum on any planet. I'm talking about people who have reached their desired realm after going crazy. Lu Yin was about to speak when the lake reflected light from the corner of his eye. He blurted out, virtuous like water? Chapter 25:33. Suruzen's eyes lit up. Virtuous as water? Has someone reached that realm? Yes. Where? I can't remember. Suruzen bowed deeply. If you remember, please do tell me. Lu Yin nodded. I'll try my best. By the way, do you want to see my Zhongshan card? Thank you. Lu Yin brought Suruzen into the card and summoned a mountain with a wave of his hand. Suruzen was shocked. The person who created this card must have had uncanny craftsmanship. To be able to use a single card to activate the mountain-crushing pressure, Jiang Xiaodao lost to it. How do you know he lost? Suruzen asked. Suruzen replied calmly, with his personality he wouldn't have let you go if he hadn't lost. Lu Yin smiled but didn't explain. He left not long after as he couldn't stay with Suruzen forever. Mu Xinxin had already set her sights on him. Suruzen's status in the Woodwood dimension wasn't low, and Mu Mu had let Jiang Xiaodao go because of him. Now that Mu Xinxin had set her sights on him, he didn't want to attract too much attention. Another 10 days passed and little Lian came looking for him. She kept calling him Brother Xianqi, which made him feel both comfortable and awkward. He felt like he was lying to her. Jiang Xiaodao came looking for him not long after, threatening him, "Don't even think about little Lian or I'll kill you." Lu Yin rolled his eyes. "Not interested, I only see her as a little sister." "That won't do either," Jiang Xiaodao growled. Lu Yin felt strange. "You're not threatening me because you like her." Jiang Xiaodao's eyes flashed. "I'm just reminding you out of the goodness of my heart. Don't get into trouble or no one will be able to protect you, not even in the Void God dimension." "Who's little Lian?" Lu Yin asked as Jiang Xiaodao's explanation wasn't simple. Jiang Xiaodao took a deep breath. "Since you admitted defeat, I'll tell you. Otherwise you won't even know how you died." He paused for a moment before continuing solemnly. "Little Lian is the youngest disciple of Venerate Lotus in the reincarnation dimension. He's also the most beloved." Lu Yin's expression changed. "A grade 9 Lotus sovereign?" Jiang Xiaodao said solemnly. "That's right, Venerated Lotus. Our reincarnation time and space has 3 9 sages, and Venerated Lotus is one of the 3. She's ranked 4th in reincarnation time and space, and she's an extremely powerful expert second only to the great heavenly venerables. Even my father is afraid of her and doesn't dare to offend her. Venerated Lotus disciples are spread throughout the 6 Direction Society, and offending Venerated Lotus disciples is the same as offending a group of them." He suddenly lowered his voice. Lu Yin knew that there were 3 saints and 9 saints in reincarnation time and space. He had also heard of the 9th grade Lotus Venerable, but he did not know much about it. However, there were some things that didn't need to be understood. The words, "second only to a great heavenly venerate," were enough to explain everything. Jiang Xiaodao's fear from the bottom of his heart also explained everything. He didn't even care about the Void God space-time. "I'm not interested in what you're saying. As for little Lian, I only see her as a little sister," Lu Yin said. Jiang Xiaodao nodded. "That would be for the best. Let's begin. Teach me the basics of reincarnation time's power," Lu Yin said. Jiang Xiaodao ground his teeth in annoyance. He had to teach Lu Yin this, but he couldn't go back on his word. He took out something from his cosmic ring and tossed it to Lu Yin. "Absorb it." Lu Yin took it and looked at it only to be stunned. Was this a star crystal? "What's this?" Lu Yin looked at Jiang Xiaodao. Jiang Xiaodao took out another star crystal and weighed it. "Absorb it. You can start cultivating through the power inside. I'll teach you a battle technique later. Once you learn it, it'll be equivalent to being a beginner." Lu Yin looked at the star crystal again. It was a star crystal, right? But how could it be? Wasn't that the power of the 5th mainland? Reincarnation time knew about the Genesis space and naturally understood the power system of the Genesis space. How could their power system be exactly the same as the Genesis spaces? If it was the same, then why had the Yuan sage said that the 5th mainland wasn't suitable for him to fight? It also seemed like the Yuan sage looked down on the 5th mainland's power system. Lu Yin held the star crystal and started absorbing the star energy inside. No matter what, he had to learn it first. Soon the star energy entered his body. It was the same feeling as when he had first started cultivating. Star energy. Lu Yin suppressed his suspicions and directed the star energy into his body. He thought that this strand of star energy would be absorbed by his astral origin cyclone, But to his surprise, his astral origin cyclone actually rejected this strand of star energy. This surprised Lu Yin. Why would his astral origin cyclone reject the same amount of star energy? He tried to direct this strand of star energy closer to his astral origin cyclone, but it was still rejected. This was strange. Could the reincarnation time star energy be rejecting the fifth mainland star energy? How is it? Have you absorbed it? Jiang Xiaodao asked. Lu Yin replied, "Give me another one." Jiang Xiaodao was disdainful. You want to be a beginner with just one more? Do you really think your talent is better than a venerable's? He then casually tossed a pile of star essence to Lu Yin. Lu Yin was stunned when he saw that there were star essence as well. This is good stuff. Anyone below the ascendant celestial realm will need to absorb the energy inside to cultivate. This should be enough for you to be a beginner. I'll teach you another battle technique, and once you enter the Reincarnation Tao Academy, you'll be able to easily learn the Stone Gate's 8 hands. At that time, your reputation as a genius will be even greater. Jiang Xiaodao raised a hand and his palm flew out as he displayed a palm technique. At first glance it looked quite powerful and it was a palm technique. Just as he had said, it would be easy to learn the Stone Gate's 8 hands. However, Lu Yin's gaze grew more and more strange. This guy was digging a hole for himself as he was clearly using a technique from the Stone Gate's 8 hands. Even though he had never seen it before, Lu Yin had seen Mu Mu use the Stone Gate's 3 hands, which was enough for him to deduce part of the 4th hand's techniques. Although it wasn't exactly the same as the 4th hand, it wasn't too far off. After all, he could easily defeat a half-ancestor. He had cultivated for many years and had the support of the primogenitor's scripture. Jiang Xiaodao was teaching him part of the 4th hand, and once he mastered it and used it in a fight, everyone would think that he was cheating if he was recognized. Then his reputation in the Void God Tao Academy and the Lost Tao Academy would also be damaged. This guy was really cunning. How was it? Did you see it clearly? Jiang Xiaodao asked expectantly as he looked at Lu Yin with bright eyes. Lu Yin shook his head. I didn't see it clearly. Jiang Xiaodao was dissatisfied. So stupid, and the technique isn't difficult. Didn't you say that you came from a cultivation civilization? You should know battle techniques, right? Let me see if you can practice them. With my knowledge from following my father, I'll definitely be able to correct you. No need. I want to practice the palm technique you just displayed. It looks very powerful. Lu Yin was eager to try. Jiang Xiaodao laughed. Of course it was powerful. This was the authentic 4th hand of the Stone Gate. If not for his father's reputation, he would not have been able to learn it. Mu Mu and the others had been practicing the top 3 techniques in the Reincarnation Tao Academy, and he had long surpassed them. Of course he was not very familiar with it, but it was enough to fool this guy. Do you really want to practice this palm technique? Yes. Then watch carefully. I'll practice it again. Thank you. Jiang Xiaodao was pleased and practiced it again. How was it? Did you learn it? I didn't see it clearly, Lu Yin replied. Jiang Xiaodao was furious. I practiced it twice and you said you didn't see it clearly? Lu Yin said sincerely, this palm technique is too profound. It's hard to see it clearly. Try it again. Jiang Xiaodao snorted and practiced it again. How was it? It's too profound. Are you an idiot? I practiced it 3 times. That just shows how unfathomable palm techniques are. When Jiang Xiaodao finished practicing it for the 4th time, Lu Yin reacted before he could see it clearly. Are you messing with me? Lu Yin shook his head and was a little troubled. I want to learn it, but I can't remember the moves. Strange. Do I not have the talent for cultivation? Jiang Xiaodao sized Lu Yin up and did not know if he was telling the truth. You really can't remember it? Lu Yin sighed. Maybe I really don't have the talent for cultivation. Forget it, I'll just practice my Void God's force. Jiang Xiaodao quickly stopped him. Don't, I'll practice it for you again. He had sacrificed so much, and if Lu Yin could not learn anything, how could he take revenge? Although he suspected that this guy might know his plan, it was impossible. Unless he recognized that this was the 4th hand of the Stone Gate, how could he know? Thinking of this, Jiang Xiaodao continued practicing. After practicing it 10 times, Lu Yin finally said that he had memorized the moves and promised that he would practice diligently so that he could surprise everyone when he joined the Reincarnation Tao Academy. These words ignited Jiang Xiaodao's passion. Alright Xianxia. Although I don't like you, we can't get to know each other without fighting. When you shine in the Reincarnation Dao Academy, you must let me know in advance so that I can cheer for you. Lu Yin smiled. I definitely will. Jiang Xiaodao walked away confidently, but Lu Yin shook his head. It was quite fun to have some fun. His domain spread out, and no one was watching him as he began to absorb the star energy from the star essence. With his strength, this small amount of star essence was quickly absorbed, and the star energy in the reincarnation spacetime within his body grew stronger. Lu Yin tried to draw the star energy closer to his astral origin vortex, but it was still rejected. He raised a hand and star energy appeared in his palm. This was star energy from the reincarnation spacetime, so why was it rejected? He had to study it. A few days later, news spread that Jiang Xiaodao had gone to the Void God Dao Academy. This news was not unexpected. Lu Yin had led a village to the Lost Dao Academy and smashed Jiang Xiaodao into a daze. That scene had not only shocked Jiang Xiaodao but everyone else as well. The Void God civilization had its own unique characteristics. Among the Six Directions Society, the Three Sovereign space was publicly recognized as the weakest, while the reincarnation spacetime was publicly recognized as the strongest. Aside from that, there was no absolute difference in strength between the other four, and their powers were all worth learning. Lu Yin had also obtained the Lost Race's battle techniques from the Lost Dao Academy. This was something that could only be obtained after joining the Lost Race, and it was called the Third Barrier. It was a very strange name, as the name of the place was more important than the name of the battle technique. Lu Yin asked Xiaolian about it, and she happily explained, "The Third Barrier is a comprehensive collection of all the Lost Race's battle techniques. It contains countless battle techniques, and there are both ordinary and powerful ones. We can only learn the ordinary ones. The Lost Race is xenophobic, but their battle techniques are not. Brother Xianxia, your power layout card contains the Lost Race's battle techniques." Chapter 25-34. Lu Yin was puzzled. So any civilization's battle techniques can be combined with the Lost Clan card? Little Lien smiled. Yes, Grandpa Jibing said that there's no need to be restricted to one civilization. We're here to integrate civilizations, and the Lost Clan card is like a platform where any civilization's power can be used. It seems like there's no need to use the battle techniques that the Third Stronghold taught me, Lu Yin said. Little Lien stuck out her tongue. I don't use them either. After bidding farewell to Little Lien, Lu Yin continued to study the star energy of the reincarnation spacetime, but he couldn't figure out the difference between the two. However, he had a way to make use of it, which was to circulate the star energy of the reincarnation spacetime around his heart. The energy in his heart belonged to the myriad Daoists returned to one, and after one circulation the star energy would be absorbed by his astral energy vortex. This also meant that Lu Yin could cultivate in the reincarnation spacetime. Had Bai Xianer also gone to the reincarnation spacetime when she underwent her half-progenitor origin tribulation? It was a pity that Jiang Xiaodao had gone to the Void God Dao Academy. Otherwise, Lu Yin would have been able to obtain star essence from him. He wondered if the star essence from the Reincarnation Academy could be used on his die. A month later, Luo Lauer suddenly snuck into the Lost Dao Academy to look for Lu Yin. What large-scale auction? Lu Yin was puzzled. Luo Lauer replied, I knew that you didn't know, but a ruthless person from the Six Direction Association has organized the largest auction in Cliff Town's history. It's happening today and I'm here to take you there. Isn't Cliff Town's auction limited to a certain area? That's a normal auction, but this one is different. Someone contacted me and asked me to spread the news. Many people already know about it and they're preparing to go. There are even people from the Great Dao Academy going. Luo Lauer then leaned closer and whispered, Do you remember the demi-human that appeared in the last auction? Lu Yin's eyes trembled. Yes. Luo Lauer continued, After that auction, everyone was curious as to how the demi-humans were brought in. Some guessed that they were brought in by a powerhouse, while others guessed that they were brought in through connections. Some even guessed that cosmic rings could release people. Now that the answer has been revealed, it's the third guess. Lu Yin was surprised. Cosmic rings can release people? Luo Lauer shook his head. Oh, it's a mountain. Lu Yin's pupils shrank. It's a mountain that can be big or small. The demi-humans that were released in the previous secret auction was actually to build momentum for the secret auction. How ruthless. I wonder who would dare to play like this. I'm guessing it's the Six Paths sect themselves, old Luo said. Lu Yin glanced at his cosmic ring. Mountain. Wasn't it Mount Supreme that could release people? Mount Supreme came from the sky-supporting pillar, and the sky-supporting pillar was the pillar that supported the sect in the era of the origin space. How could there be one here? It shouldn't be the sky-supporting pillar. How is it? Brother-in-law, are you interested? Luo Lauer asked. Lu Yin replied, lead the way. I'll take a look. Right, let's go. Luo Lauer was excited. The environment in the Lost Dao Academy made Luo Lauer very uncomfortable. Seventh bro, I heard that you're quite amazing in the Lost Dao Academy. Did you obtain the best card? It's all right. When are you going to the next monastery? Let's go together. Lu Yin was astonished. You joined the Void God Dao Academy? Luo Lauer raised his head. Lu Yin replied, I don't know where the next monastery is. If it's not the Reincarnation Monastery, then it's the Wood Monastery. Let's go to the Wood Monastery. There we can get the Wood Innate Gift. Lu Yin nodded. There was nothing in the Reincarnation Monastery that attracted him, but the Wood Monastery was a good choice. If possible, he wanted to see if he could get the innate gift from the Mother Tree when he returned to the Fifth Mainland. The two of them weren't the only ones from the Lost Dao Academy to Cliff Town. They met several others along the way, including Saruzin. Seventh bro, I think I've heard of this strange person before. He's from the Wood Dimension, right? Luo Lauer whispered to Lu Yin. Lu Yin was surprised. You've heard of him? Luo Lauer replied, I heard that someone who's older than his age came to the Wood Dimension. He has a very high status in the Wood Dimension and obtained an extremely rare innate gift. It's something that no one in the Wood Dimension has been able to obtain for countless years. Can you find out what kind of innate gift it is? Lu Yin was curious. He had asked Saruzin about it, and the latter had told him everything except this one. Luo Lauer shook his head. I can't find out. I've asked the people in the Wood Dimension, but I heard that not many in the Wood Dimension know about it. Don't underestimate him just because he looks old. His background is as deep as Jiang Xiaodao's. Lu Yin looked at Saruzin. It seemed that Saruzin was doing the best out of all the people from Earth aside from himself. Zhang Dingtian had lost the Lu family's protection and was training in the Astral Tree, hoping to avenge the Lu family one day. Bai Shui was taking care of the Big Face Tree in the Seed Garden. Su San followed the Lingtong ancestor because of his own reasons, and the Lingtong ancestor treated him well. None of them had the same background as Saruzin. Right, there was also Bai Qian who had a very high status in the hyperspace dimension. Even someone like Ku Jian had to bow to him. Since he had run into Saruzin, he naturally had to go with him. The three quickly arrived at Cliff Town and covered their faces with fruits. Lu Yin glanced at Saruzin, who didn't need to cover himself at all. His raised arm was too obvious and anyone would know it was him. Cliff Town was very lively on this day with more people and more stalls than the last time. Luo Lauer brought them to the place where the secret auction would be held. Along the way they saw several people bowing to Saruzin. Lu Yin even saw Shi Hong and Zuyu together with someone from the Wood Dimension. Sister Hong, is that the weirdo you mentioned who has a very high status in the Wood Dimension? Zuyu asked quietly. Shi Hong replied, yes, although I don't know what kind of Wood innate gift he has, even Senior Mu Qing has to bow to him. His Wood innate gift is definitely not ordinary. He's one of the few future powerhouses that the Hexagon training halls have evaluated. A future supreme expert of humanity? Zui was surprised. Shi Hong nodded. This is a list that was recently evaluated. The so-called powerhouses are those who have the power of the Black Dimension. In terms of combat power, they're at least 5 million. Zui gasped. She was ambitious and wanted to become a powerhouse, but she had never thought that she would one day reach that level. What did 5 million mean? She could destroy the universe with a wave of her hand, and even the art of gift would be destroyed in a single blow. Who's on the list? Zuyu asked curiously. Shi Hong said, I know of Xiao Qingfeng and Jiang Xiaodao from the Reincarnation Dimension, Saruzin from the Wood Dimension, Su Ji from the Nihility Dimension, Ji Xiao from the Lost Clan, He Shu from the Ultra Dimension, and so on. Oh, and... She paused, her expression complicated. Xianxia might also be on the list. Zuyu was puzzled. Why is Xianxia on the list? Is it because of his innate gift? Shi Hong said, Xianxi's innate gift will definitely attract the attention of the powerhouses in the Nihility Dimension. It's rumored that more than one powerhouse from the Nihility Dimension is interested in him. Once he catches the eye of one of them with his innate gift, he'll most likely become a powerhouse of that level. Of course, the people we're talking about have the potential to become powerhouses. In fact, although some of them are about the same age as us, they're almost equivalent to powerhouses. Those people are the real monsters, and they wouldn't come to the Hexagon training halls. If they wanted to learn from other civilizations, they wouldn't need to come here. Suyu was puzzled. Real monsters. Shihong didn't elaborate, but Mu Qing returned. Strange, I don't know who those two besides Saruzin are. It's not easy for them to be so close to Saruzin. Is Saruzin difficult to get along with? Shihong was curious. Mu Qing replied, he's not difficult to get along with, but he's not easy to get close to. He then curiously sized up Lu Yin and Luo Lauer. Throughout Cliff Town, there were people heading towards a certain area from all directions, and more people were gathering there. Lu Yin suddenly looked in one direction where a few figures were walking over. The people around them avoided them, not daring to get close. He looked at two of them. One was wearing a blue and white coat, and his hair was slightly long and draped over his shoulders. His gaze was arrogant, while the other was wearing a pale golden robe and had his hands behind his back. He gave off an illusory feeling. These two had left a deep impression on Lu Yin. They were the two youths who had followed the Yuan sage to the Fifth Mainland. Through Zijing, Lu Yin had learned that one of them was called He Shu. He had heard this name many times after entering the space-time continuum. He was an absolute genius and also the younger brother of that perfect woman. As for the other one, Lu Yin was certain that it was Xiao Qingfeng, the genius from the reincarnation space-time who had been suppressed by Lu Yin in the Void God Dao Academy. They were the absolute upper echelons of the younger generation of the Hexagon training halls, and in this space-time continuum they were at the training halls. There was a girl walking between them, and Lu Yin recognized her as Mu Mu, who had fought with Jiang Xiaodao. "Seventh bro, that looks like Mu Mu," Luo Lauer said. He recognized her because her mask hadn't changed, and it was exactly the same as it had been during the secret auction. Some people naturally didn't want to hide their identities, and they were proud and arrogant. Mu Mu and Jiang Xiaodao were essentially the same type of people. At this point, Mu Mu's group also saw Lu Yin's group. Her expression changed and she took a few steps forward to stand in front of them. "Who are you?" Lu Yin replied, "Cliff Town has its own rules. You're breaking the rules by asking this." Mu Mu frowned. "The rules only restrict certain people." "Who are you? Why are you with Saruzin?" Saruzin spoke up. "Don't worry, Mu Mu. We're just friends." Mu Mu was curious. "You have friends?" Saruzin calmly replied, "I'm willing to make friends. You're also my friend." Her expression eased up a little when she heard this, but she still looked at Lu Yin's group with caution. "You better not have any ideas about Saruzin, or you'll end up in an unimaginable state." Lu Yin was puzzled. Mu Shiqiang seemed to value Saruzin quite a bit. It seemed like his innate gift of wood was quite extraordinary. Xiao Qingfeng and He Shu stood nearby and didn't approach. They were very calm. Many people had gathered around them, waiting for the secret auction to begin. For hours later there was still no movement. The secret auction was held within a mountain wall, but it hadn't opened.